है सामने बैठा हूँ मैं मायूस कुन आए ना कोई मुझे थामने अल्लाह अल्लाह तू मेरी सुन ले सदा मायूब हूँ तेरा करम करता रखा इज्जत भी थी बढ़ के दिया औकात से.
It's a Saturday night and you broadcast to Radio Al Ansar, broadcasting to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
माफ तू फहरिस्ते इसियां को छोड़ दे
It's a Saturday night and your dial should be on 90.4 in Durban and 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg. This is Nightline, the program designed especially for you, the listener. Nightline's the only program that allows you to listen to the opportunity to voice your opinion on any topic or any matter that concerns you. Also on Nightline, we conduct interviews with the famous, the not so famous, and the infamous. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another program of Nightline. You're in the company of Brother Mohamed Variawa and Dr. Aniwar Jeewa. The technician tonight is Spoon Kizi, like we have for every other night. It's a beautiful, amazing, and fantastic Saturday night. All thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that allowed us to breathe again once you slept.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to you. To all the listeners of Radio Al Ansar, welcome to Nightline. As you know, it's a late night talk show right here on Radio Al Ansar. Broadcasting on 90.4 FM stereo, 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg. Every Saturday night from 8:30 p.m. till late. Getting confused with the time. This is a space where real conversations happen, where we explore the issues that matter, share powerful stories, and give voice to the thoughts that keep us awake at night. Whether it is social, spiritual, or simply personal, Nightline is your platform to connect, reflect, and be inspired. So remember, it's an interactive show. You can connect with us or contact us or message us or send us your voice note on 060-904-1056. Let me welcome my co-presenter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi barakatuh, Brother Mohamed Hossen Variawa. It's written there on the name Mohamed Hossen
It's written there, yeah, it's written there. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you and how's Durban, how's South Africa, and how's Al Ansar Radio?
Alhamdulillah, pretty good. Have a lot of weird weather. Some beautiful hot days, some cold days, some rainy days. But it's nice.
By the way, you're like, I think you're like expecting some very, very bad weather to come your way in the next few days.
Yeah, I believe there's some storms that are also coming in place. But today has been a little bit cool and then a little bit of rain here and there, which is normal in Durban area. But have you noticed the weather has changed over the years? Because we're coming into December and we know during October, November, December, it's supposed to get very hot. But we had a lot of cold days right till up to present. So, it's become scary because the whole weather pattern throughout the world has changed. But thank God, we thank Allah that, we're not subjected to the hurricanes and tornadoes, the floods, fires. I mean, in Europe, I think, was it Greece, if I'm not mistaken, that was exposed to a lot of fire because of extreme heat. Then we've seen that places.
I agree with you.
And places that have been floods, lots of rain. So it's becoming really, really scary. But nevertheless, the world is gone crazy. Remember the movie, The World is Gone Crazy.
The world's gone crazy. Yeah, the world has gone crazy actually.
True. It has really gone crazy, especially when you start reading and hearing about how people behave towards other human beings. I mean, this I find it very difficult. And just to touch on last week, we spoke about why do Muslims behave like this, where we mentioned that, when they go to hospitals and how they interact and treat the nurses, how they take over the wards, how they don't care for the other patients, how they don't keep to the proper times, visiting times, or how many visitors are allowed. Then if they go to surgeries, then they become impatient and then they voice their opinion and they get upset and angry at the secretary and the receptionist. And when the doctor comes in front of them, then they change their tune. And, we had a show last week, Saturday. And on Sunday, I decided to go and get something to eat at the new Checkers, Halal Checkers in Westwood Mall. And guess what? In the food court, here is a lady, Muslim lady, in Islamic garb, right? With a scarf.
What's Islamic garb? Niqab or hijab?
Niqab.
Or both? Niqab,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. And she was going for the kill towards the lady working behind the counter. She was giving it to her left, right, and center. I mean, I promise you, the only thing that I looked at was the people that were around them, and majority were non-Muslim, were standing and listening in disgust.
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah. It's terrible. Terrible. A'udhu billah min zalik. It's terrible.
I mean, for something that was small, something to do with the food, whatever it is, but the way she was going for the kill, I promise you, like this person harmed her so badly that she, if she had a weapon or she had something, she would have definitely used it the way she was carrying. But I looked at the people's response around her. I mean, it was sad. It was really sad to see somebody representing Muslims per se and tend to behave. We're supposed to have humility. We're supposed to have character. We're supposed to have akhlaq. We're supposed to talk to people well. We're supposed to treat people well. And we don't practice what we preach. And then we had last week, obviously, comments were saying, no, but you know what? It's not a common problem. But come, wherever you go, you see this often. And even if you speak to people in businesses or in medical centers or in surgeries or in hospitals, and they all share the similar sentiments. So it is a common problem.
No, absolutely. I think people that think that it's not a very common problem are either denials of the truth. I mean, we see it all the time. But I thought you'd go up to her and say, listen, madam, you didn't listen to my program last night. You just spoke about what you're doing now, and you're actually embarrassing us. More importantly, you're embarrassing the religion because you're in the gap.
In fact, I didn't want it to engage because she did give me a little bit of trouble in the surgery too, the same lady.
Oh, the same woman.
Yeah, she gave me some trouble in the surgery. Trouble in the sense that make 100 appointments, do not turn up, and then walk in when they feel like and demand that they want attention immediately. So I said, no, Araja, just keep quiet, and I don't want to spoil my day and spoil my mood and whatever it is. And just shook my head in disgust and say, Allah, please make this stop. Put some hidayah. We basically, end of the day, we are here to help and assist wherever we can and make people aware, but we must do it with humility also. We can't stoop to their level and behave in such ways and such manner. So maybe I think the good way to do it is that when they calm down, because if you do it when they're in anger, then they blow their top more, and then you're going to get
100%. 100%.
So
I agree.
And meet them another time. But when I saw the way she behaved, now I'll stay far away from her. Definitely. Inshallah, I'll stay. Nevertheless, we have a very exciting program tonight. Lots of things are taking place in South Africa. The last few days, we must say that the Muslim community in Joburg really came, to the fore and assisted wherever it is. And a lot of stories have been going on, a lot of attacks, and which we'll speak about it, inshallah. So we do have a guest that's going to come and explain to us much more in details. And we want to touch on the response. I'm not sure if you're aware that how rife Islamophobia is in this country.
I always believe that Islamophobia is rife throughout the world, and I don't think South Africa is any different. And I've also went through some of those horrendous responses, but we'll chat about it later on.
Inshallah. Okay, so I think we got a voice note from Aisha Jamal. She's out of the country, so let's listen to her.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And assalamu alaikum to my brothers, Mohamed Variawa, as well as Dr. Jeewa and the listeners of Radio Al Ansar. Not forgetting Zbu in studio. Alhamdulillah, I have to tell you that I'm speaking to you today from the Mubarak land of Aqsa, Mubarak land of Palestine, Alhamdulillah. And it's so mashallah and beautiful to be here. I just have to pinch myself all the time to know that Allah has blessed me to be in this Mubarak land, Alhamdulillah. I'm actually sitting right now in the Dome of the Rock. Just read my Maghrib Salah and decided to send the voice note now. Alhamdulillah, it is a bit quiet today, but there are people reading Salah here, and the Qibli Masjid as well. We read Jummah there. It was amazing. The men read in Qibli Masjid, and then the woman had to read in Dome of the Rock. So I've been making so much of dua for everybody in South Africa, and hopefully that, inshallah, the conditions will change and that we will see a better Palestine or free Palestine, inshallah. But there are going to be noises in the background, but that is just what it is all about, because it is just outside the doors of the Rock of the Dome, and it's so beautiful to hear all these people speaking and the warmth of the people. It's actually pouring for the past 2 days. We've been having storms, and they say that they've been reading Salah for rain, and from last week, because they haven't had rain for quite a few months, and alhamdulillah, at least that now they have rain, mashallah, and it just poured. It was torrential rain. Today we did go to Hebron and all the areas, the maqam of Musa alayhi salam. We went to all the masjids and read Salah. Alhamdulillah, Ayyub alayhi salam. It's been an amazing trip, and I just implore every single person, if you have the opportunity, you have the money, please do come to Masjid al-Aqsa. Inshallah, Masjid al-Aqsa needs you, and that's the message of the people as well. To all the people, from all the people here, the only message that they've sent is tell the people from South Africa to come and visit them. So, mashallah, it's been an amazing trip. It's been peaceful. Alhamdulillah, we've just gone through checkpoints and everything. It was smooth running, alhamdulillah. The guards haven't stopped us at all. We just let us through. Well, obviously they check your passport, but every time they just let us come through. And I must say, amazingly, yesterday, a guard looked at me and he said, "Welcome, sister." So alhamdulillah, let's make dua that Allah Ta'ala soften the guards as well, and and let them go through. And mashallah, it's been really good. Yes, there are lots of children here. We've met all of the children, and they also try to sell a lot of things as well to us. Wherever we went to visit, we've been giving out sweets to the kids, and they just want to sell you something. So in return, when you give them the sweets, sometimes they just give it to you for free. And when you go out of the masjid as well, they're just dishing out, water. They're giving you khajur. Alhamdulillah, just always giving and giving and giving, and they expect nothing in return. And that is what's so amazing. Their hearts are so pure. They are so kind. They're so happy. And all they say is make dua for Masjidul Aqsa. And that is why today my appeal is going to be for Masjidul Aqsa, um, for Palestine, for the people that are here, and they don't want Masjidul Aqsa to be empty. And that is why they say, tell your friends from South Africa to come and read Salah in the masjid. And I think that's the takeaway message for today. And that is what we asked Maulana Venka today to also talk about it, in the Nasiha, on the Nasiha section or segment. And then inshallah he will say, or he will tell you why you should come to Masjid al-Aqsa, come to the Rock of the Dome, and come to Palestine. And inshallah, that's the Nasiha segment for today. And if you can't make it to come here, what you should do for them. Also, we've met so many people from all over the world. The Juma Salah was totally packed. Alhamdulillah, that was such a good sight to see. We've met people from Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey, and Britain, Russia, Azerbaijan, Brazil, just a lot of people from all over the world. And it was so amazing to see that. Alhamdulillah, the masjids were so packed yesterday for Jummah that, lots of people were also reading outside the masjid, outside Rock, Dome of the Rock. And some of them were also reading outside Qibli Masjid. So that was such a positive for us as well. I made dua for all of you that you can all come and visit Masjidul Aqsa, and inshallah see the peace and tranquility in the people, no matter what they're going through. But they have that when you come here, no matter if the guards stop you or whatever it may be. But when you get to the masjid and you come here to read salah, you just forget everything, and you're just in that awe of reading salah and being with our Creator. Alhamdulillah, it is going to be Isha Salah time now, so I'm going to sign off. But remember, my appeal today is, if you can make it, whatever it is, if you can make it to Masjidul Aqsa, please, I make fervent dua that you do come here. Alhamdulillah. And then inshallah, when you come, when it's you can't make it, sorry, you can be like, you can make dua that Allah Ta'ala will give you some means to send some kind of donation or anything it is with the people, for the people of Masjid al-Aqsa. From me, Sister Aisha Jamal, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And please stay tuned for the question or segment, segment on from Maulana Venkama. I'm just looking at all the people that are coming in and not paying so much of attention speaking to you. But alhamdulillah, there's a little boy standing here next to me also, and he wants to sell me some tissues, and he's getting a bit upset that I'm just doing a voice note for so long, and he wants to sell me these tissues. So mashallah, I will get some tissues from him. It's freezing. It's freezing. I think it's like about 6 degrees right now. Or it was 11 degrees earlier, but now it's gone down to 6 degrees. But remember us all in du'as. I will definitely remember all of you, and remember the takeaway message for today. Please make a plan to come to Masjidul Aqsa. It's inspiring, it's spiritual, and definitely rewarding to be here. And every salah that you read here, you get 500 rewards. So I'm going to speak to this little boy right now and buy the tissues, because he's still staring at me. So I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Must be very, very nice to be in such a Mubarak place. You've been there, Brother Mohammed?
Yeah, I've been there twice. It's an excellent place to go, but I'll do it again. As you was talking, one of my good friends has now got his IOTA license, and I'm thinking about maybe myself and you can plan to take a group in, not when it's busy, after Christmas when everyone's gone, schools are gone back. I'd like to see whether we can organize a reasonable trip into the three harams in about January. But I'm just thinking about that.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's such a beautiful experience. That the whole of Jerusalem. I mean, had a bit of a history tour and things like that. The alleyways and the pathways and the shops and the
Yeah, it's a
people, and
beautiful city. It's a beautiful city.
it's really, really stunning, really beautiful, and the atmosphere that's very nice. Inshallah, always my dream was always to go and do itikaf in Masjid al-Aqsa.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. May Allah make it easy for you, inshallah. I spent overnight in Masjid al-Aqsa years ago when they still allowed you to do that. But I see they don't allow you to do it anymore now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, it's good to see that the restrictions have been not instituted as eased as yeah. I mean, I think we have Maulana Vanka for our Nasiha segment. Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. Oops, I think it went off. Yeah. Okay, we'll just try and get connected with him again. Maulana Vanka must have lost his signal.
But that call that she's made for all of us in South Africa and all over the world to make sure we can visit Masjid al-Aqsa is a very, very important calling. I think it's fundamentally important that we make an effort to go and pray and make an effort in our droves. All South Africans, whether you're here, wherever you are in the world, we all should be aiming to visit, those that can afford it, Masjid al-Aqsa, at least once in your lifetime, or just go far more regularly, so people will see that there are Muslims from throughout the world to whom Masjid al-Aqsa belongs to, make an attempt to visit. So even when I was there, the first thing the Palestinians ask you or want to plead with you is to please have people to come visit. So that's very, very important.
Also, welcome to all our Facebook listeners. Yes, we are live on Facebook. And let's go over to Maulana Abu Ahmad Mohamed Vanka. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And assalamu alaikum to the esteemed listeners. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakallahu khairan.
Hope you're keeping well, Maulana.
Alhamdulillah, for the grace of Allah. Allah, we can never thank Allah enough for the many privileges and bounties that He has showered upon us. We look at our lives and look at other parts of the world where people are going through such challenges and difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think your nasiha for tonight, as Aisha has mentioned, speaking about the importance of Masjid al-Aqsa and why is it that we should go and visit Masjid al-Aqsa at every chance we get.
Yes, absolutely. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmatuhu wa nusalli ala rasulih al-Kareem amma ba'd. Respected listeners, when we look at Baytul Muqaddas, Masjid al-Aqsa, back in the day, this was referred to as the Forgotten Haram. One of the reasons for that is that, many people visited Makkah Mukarramah, Medina Munawwara for Hajj, for Umrah, but very few had been to Masjid al-Aqsa. In the recent past, perhaps in the past maybe 10, 15 years, there has been the revival again. And yet again, when we look at it purely from an academic perspective, when Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he built Masjid al-Aqsa, he made 3 du'as to the Almighty Allah. And one of those du'as was that, oh Allah, the one that prays in this masjid, let him return like the day his mother had given birth to him. The Nabi of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, towards the latter part of his life, he made mention of this dua of Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, and he said Ameen to this dua. He said Ameen to this dua. Abdullah bin Umar is mentioned about him that he would travel all the way from Makkah Mukarramah, from Medina Munawwara. They would go to Baytul Muqaddas and they would read 2 rakats of salah just to get the reward of reading salah in Baytul Muqaddas. In one narration, Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man ahalla bi hajjin aw umratin min masjid al-aqsa ila al-masjid al-haram, wajabat lahu al-jannah. That person who dons the ihram, either for hajj or umrah from Masjid al-Aqsa, Allah would give you the reward. Jannah becomes wajib for that person. What did my Nabi say? Come on the day of Qiyamah, you would walk into Jannah. When we open the books of Ahadith, the wealth of knowledge that is contained in the books of Ahadith, generally when we speak about the journey of Mi'raj, the ascension of the Nabi of Allah, Masjid al-Aqsa is the only piece of ground. Makkah Mukarramah has its virtue, Medina Munawwara has its own virtue. Masjid al-Aqsa is the only piece of ground on the entire earth where all the Anbiya had gathered at one time and perform salah behind the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no other piece of land that enjoys that privilege. This was the gathering of the Anbiya, Masjid al-Aqsa. It is important, respected listeners. We all know what is currently happening in that part of the world, the land of Sham, Masjid al-Aqsa. It's something which, it's not an issue of history, but rather it's an issue of Aqidah. And I swear by the Almighty Allah, you would only understand the plight of the Palestinians when you go and visit that blessed piece of ground. You and I live perhaps thousands of kilometers away. There are those that live steps away, a stone's throw away from Baitul Muqaddas. Yet many of them, it becomes extremely challenging and difficult for them to visit Baitul Muqaddas. The question is, what excuse do you and I have? So let us, inshallah, at least once in our lives, let us undertake this journey and fulfill that desire, the dua of Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, which the Nabi of Allah said Ameen to. So, subhanallah, it is something we can go on speaking about Baitul Muqaddas, about Masjid al-Aqsa, and we make dua to the Almighty Allah that Allah liberate Masjid al-Aqsa in our lifetime, so we all could enter into, a liberated Masjid al-Aqsa. This is a land which is rich with Islamic history. Many of the major signs of Qiyamah would happen on that very piece of ground where the trumpet will be blown. I gave a talk yesterday on that. The trumpet will be blown. That would happen in the precincts of Baitul Muqaddas. So inshallah, respected listeners, we make dua to the Almighty Allah. Allah Ta'ala allow each and every one of us, to visit Masjid al-Aqsa at least once in our life. You don't need any visa. You book the flights. You got your accommodation. You get the visa on arrival. Perhaps, maybe they might make you wait at the border post. But I swear by the Almighty Allah, the spiritual ecstasy that a person enjoys when you step on that blessed piece of ground, I don't think there are any words in any language, to understand or to explain the spiritual ecstasy that a person enjoys on that blessed piece of ground.
Jazakallah Maulana, we appreciate your wonderful nasiyah. Inshallah, let's all make dua that we can all go to Masjid al-Aqsa. And as I mentioned to Brother Mohamed Variawa, the atmosphere might be beautiful to go during the 10 days itikaf. Might be a wonderful atmosphere to be there.
Yes, alhamdulillah, we've been on few occasions, not for itikaf, but we spend the last few nights of the blessed month of Ramadan. The 27th night of Ramadan is not amazing, it's super amazing.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah Maulana, keep well and enjoy your Sunday.
Ameen. Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa
Up next is our next segment. Just to give you a brief introduction, listen to this clip.
Assalamu alaikum.
So this was a short clip of those refugees that have landed up in Johannesburg, just to give you an idea of the atmosphere to enter or come to airport and the customs. So, Assalamu alaikum and good evening, and welcome to Nightline on Ansar, broadcasting on 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg. Tonight we turn our attention to an I don't know what's something to be in the background. Is there some noise? Is there some, yeah, okay, it's something in the background.
The guest sound that I can hear us properly.
Okay. All right, okay. So tonight we're going to turn our attention to an urgent humanitarian and political development that has caught the concern of civil society across the country. On the 28th of October, 176 Palestinian refugee families and fathers were suddenly relocated to South Africa under circumstances that have raised serious questions about Israeli involvement in human rights. Many of these individuals arrived malnourished, traumatized, and stripped of their belongings. In response, South African civil society mobilized rapidly, provide medical care, food, clothing, legal assistance, and above all, a sense of humanity and Ubuntu. Joining us this evening is a special guest, Sarah Oosthuizen, who is also a representative and involved with the Gift of the Givers Foundation, one of the key voices behind the civil society media statement that's here to unpack what truly happened and why it matters and what South Africa's role should be moving forward. So stay with us as we explore the humanitarian realities, the geopolitical implications, and the moral responsibilities facing our nation and the world. So we have with us Sarah Oosthuizen. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation and being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so we have followed up with a lot of posts that you put. I don't know where that sound is coming from. Can you all hear any background sound?
The background sound is coming from somewhere from your studio.
From my studio. Okay, we'll work on it. Okay, are you there, Sarah?
Lost Sarah.
No, she's there. I can see her nodding. I don't know if you got.
I'm here.
Great stuff. Okay, so Sarah, just give us a bit of a background of the work that you do and your involvement with Gift of the Givers Foundation.
I am a volunteer with Gift of the Givers. I volunteer pretty much full time, but it's an absolute pleasure and an honor. I've been here for about 2.5 years. And most of this has been spent serving the interests of Palestinians and, well, hopefully a free Palestine ultimately. That's what we would like.
Okay, that's great. Now, Sarah, for listeners who may have, listeners who may not have read the statement, can you briefly explain what happened on 28 October when we heard of 176 Palestinian refugees arrive in South Africa?
On the 28th of October, you were right. A plane landed in Johannesburg and it deposited 176 Palestinian refugees who have since, most of them, sought asylum in South Africa. They were brought to South Africa on the promises of settlement, not in South Africa, actually in another country, but somehow they found themselves rerouted via Kenya to Johannesburg as refugees. They had bought tickets or passage at great expense through a company called Al Majd. And this company deposited them unbeknown to the Palestinians in Johannesburg on the 28th. Something very similar happened this Thursday this week when 150 Palestinians were dropped under exactly the same circumstances in South Africa. The only difference on Thursday was we were aware of the plane being likely to land because there were family members on board of those who'd already arrived earlier in October. Even so, both groups of aeroplanes were kept in the dark about their final destination and were ultimately let down. It seems to be that Al Majd is a front company. It seems that they are certainly serving the interests of what we would call ethnically cleansing Palestine of individuals. Yet for sure, they bought their tickets willingly, but they seem to have been deceived and conned in the doing so. They certainly didn't arrive where they thought they would, and they were not set up with the resources that they thought they would be having.
I mean, I believe that they went online and they registered themselves and they were charged, anywhere between $1,500 to $5,000. And in order for them to leave and go settle down in a different country, they were given itineraries. I believe they were also given accommodation, proof of accommodation in different parts of the world.
That is true.
And they were put onto the plane. Now, we never heard, or nobody heard anything or heard about the plane that arrived prior to this one.
We weren't aware that it was coming, but once they had landed, individuals who were in need, the word started to reach us, particularly compatriots in Johannesburg, Nigel Branken, who is a social worker, and those of us in the humanitarian space very quickly started, contacting one another and very quickly put together what we call ourselves just a collective of individuals, which is now, largely, the Palestinians who arrived this week have been placed under the care of Gift to the Givers, for whom I volunteer. But essentially, it honestly just started as a number of urgent WhatsApps when we became aware of Palestinians who were quite unaware of where they were. They were scattered across Johannesburg. They were families, all of them are families, often living in areas that were unsafe and in single rooms and with absolutely no provisions. Neither of the aeroplanes, the 28th or the ones who arrived this week, none of the people on board were allowed to bring any possessions with them. When they were originally told to be ready and to leave by whoever this Al-Majd organization is, they were bussed, crossed the border into Israel and put on these aeroplanes from Ramon Airport in Israel. When this was done, all the individuals had their backpacks removed from them. They were only allowed on board with the clothes on their back. Some of them had a bit of cash, their passports, and their cell phones. And as you would have heard in the media now, the apparent issue, which caused them to sit on the tarmac for 13 hours, was because they did not have exit stamps put in their passports by Israel. I must just state that neither of the aeroplane passengers, these refugees, had that exit stamp. The difference between these two flights is the ones on October 28th were allowed to disembark. The ones this week were kept in horrific conditions in this parked aeroplane for 13 hours, severely distressed, some of them not well. Urgent medical attention was called for when our people were finally allowed on board to observe and to witness and to call for help. It was just a shocking state of events, and we, as a Gift to the Givers and this collective of individuals, feel that that was a most unfortunate welcome to people in dire circumstances seeking refuge in our country.
So the plane that arrived on 28 October seems to have arrived easily. There was no problem. Did those Palestinians have that exit stamp when they came in?
No, they did not. We are privy to their passports. We have seen that there are no exit stamps. It could be that because they had this, although probably false, or Al-Majd issued, let's put it that way, accommodation in Johannesburg, perhaps that made, didn't alert the authorities too quickly. But in terms of an exit stamp, which should be in a passport, neither aeroplane had exit stamps in the Palestinians' passports.
So what was different with the plane load, the second plane load, for treating these people the way they were treated?
I think there's no excuse for the inhumane treatment they received. What happened was we were ready at the airport, ready to receive them with family members, the few that had members on the second plane. We were there with interpreters, and our members were there ready to receive them. When they didn't disembark, we started asking questions. When it became clear that they were not allowed to disembark, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, he started making phone calls to authorities to appeal for some form of humanitarian response to these people because they were sitting there in desperation. Then eventually we were allowed, 3 of our people were allowed on board with an interpreter, Nigel Branken, and another one of our organization were allowed on board. When they got on board and witnessed the conditions, they made an appeal for urgent medical help. On board was a woman with her second pregnancy, 9 months pregnant, and experiencing distress. Also on board was a young child who started convulsing. We called for urgent medical attention, and eventually the women and children were allowed to disembark and to enter the airport where they could refresh and receive paramedic attention. We were then, Dr. Suleiman was told by DIRCO that the matter would be resolved, that they could disembark and they could then make their, they have two choices: to apply for asylum, and for those who wish to depart to another country to use their tickets and their visas and do so. When we were assured of that, we actually issued a statement to explaining that we were overjoyed that we were allowed to do this, and we were very grateful for a turn of events, only to find out from our people on board that the women and children were being sent back to the aeroplane. A hot aeroplane, no air conditioning, one door opened, absolutely no information about what was happening to them, no food, no water. We had bought food and water. It took a long time to be delivered. And when they were all on board, having been replaced there, our Mr. Nigel Branken said that he would not disembark until there was clarity. They were told that under no circumstances could they disembark, that the plane would be returning to Kenya with them. I must just state here, as a matter of record, because this contests the statement issued by the Border Management Authority this week, when they stated that they could not let them disembark because their paperwork did not contain this exit visa. Our argument is, but neither did the first plane, and that should still not be an excuse for being trapped inside an aeroplane. One of the other issues, what they said categorically, that the people on board did not wish to seek asylum. We contest that. We have written evidence from the Palestinians themselves. We took their statements and their names, as well as visual evidence. They stood there in front of the BMA officials and they asked, the majority of them asked for their right to apply for asylum in South Africa. Yet they were told that the plane would be leaving with them back to Kenya. This is our issue. Our issue as a humanitarian group of individuals and as gift of the givers is not that Border Management Authority should not do their job, not that our country should not stand by its rules, but that we should, as per our humanitarian law to which we subscribe as South Africans, that people seeking refuge, leaving places of danger, which for sure Palestinians are, that they should be welcomed and allowed to make the application for asylum in safety. We are not a country that turns people away from our borders without giving them the right to at least apply or seek refuge elsewhere legally.
I mean, I'm widely traveled. I'm sure many of you all are. Even if you tend to come to an individual country, and if you don't have the proper documents or paperwork, they'll take you off the plane and put you in a particular room. And then they'll resolve whatever issues. I've never heard anywhere in my life where that they refuse to allow people to actually jump off the plane and come out. I mean, that I never heard of. They should have maybe taken to a hall or taken to an arrival place and then address whatever issue they do, because that's how it basically works. It's a process that they do. And for people to be treated this way, I mean, that was very, very scary.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's embarrassing and it is certainly inhumane. There are many ways to do this legally, but to do it with respect and dignity.
That's correct. Now, the other thing you mentioned early on is another very shocking aspect that you mentioned, is that Israeli officials forced refugees to abandon all their belongings. Do we know why this was done and what impact did they have on the refugees when they landed?
A horrific impact. I mean, we know what, people from Gaza, what they are fleeing is absolutely indescribable. I don't think recent history has seen and can yet actually understand what they have been experiencing for 2 years. All of them would have been displaced multiple times. And I can only imagine that in their hurry, they probably took the most necessary and most important things with them. Yet to have these stripped of them, to me, is a display of the ultimate indignity. For sure, you could probably buy a t-shirt somewhere else in another country, but to have this taken away from you really deems you as worthless and extremely vulnerable. And this is what made the situation so much worse. We had babies on board, young children. You know, the need for fresh nappies or items of clothing for people who traveled for hours, and we're now sitting in a very hot airplane. It really was dire. So to answer your question, the removal of those belongings are quite possibly just another one of those dehumanizing, it's a really subtle statement made by the Israelis towards the Palestinians that you are worthless and we will take even your last remaining belongings from you. I mean, for instance, even people's spectacles were removed.
That's sad. Now, can you take us through how civil society organization mobilized so quickly? What did that support look like in practical terms?
The support has been absolutely incredible. Absolutely. It was rapid. We have experts volunteering their time. We have ordinary citizens offering furnished homes that offer dignity and security. Everything from the offer of a prayer mat to a fully stocked pantry or foods that are considered respectful and appropriate. People who have offered, you know, to bring art supplies to the children, to the very, very practical. As a collective and as an organization, we have made sure that they are receiving medical screening, the care that they deserve and that they require. For instance, they had to arrive without any medication. Some people require chronic medication. Of course, having lived under a genocide for 2 years, these people are fragile. They are malnourished. So we're making sure that we attend to their nutritional needs as well. Everything from the very, very practical to the things that just offer a human touch of dignity. Legal advice. What are their rights? What are their responsibilities? Things like this. All of this is what we are rolling out as we speak to the first team that arrived, or the first airplane, and now with the second group.
Mm-hmm. In your post or in your article, you reference a real spirit of Ubuntu in the response. Can you share some examples of ordinary South Africans stepping in to help? I know Gift of the Givers does a lot.
Yes, for sure. As Gift of the Givers, the first thing that Dr. Suleiman issued on that Thursday with the people trapped in the airplane, he let DIRCO know in writing that he would stand surety for all their needs once here in South Africa for their period of asylum, so that they would be safe and protected in terms of their humanitarian needs. But really, this is what you said, Ubuntu. It is the ordinary person who has messaged us. We have put our names and our numbers and the contact people out in the public, and we have had a steady stream of people offering, particularly, nappies, new baby clothes, not old worn things, full sets, pots, pans, beautifully furnished homes, art supplies, as I've said, absolutely down to the smallest thing that actually brings back that message that you are human and we welcome you.
Just to move away slightly, we know and you reference and speak about Ubuntu, but the response of many, and if you look at all the posts and comments that have been coming on in wherever this has been discussed, we tend to find a lot of messages of hatred, disunity, angry, upset at the government. I mean, if you read those comments, you don't see there's any feeling of Ubuntu at all among those that are putting on these comments. I mean, it's sad.
It is awful, and I think we've seen that over the 2 years, the division across, global sentiment. Unfortunately, there is a certain narrative that some people seem to hold to. I'm an optimist. I think I always hope that people will start to see the humanity in others and respond to it. But unfortunately, you're right. We have seen that. We have seen people react with, well, can we not look after our own? Why do we have to look after others? And it becomes that kind of talk about us and them. I fully appreciate that as a nation, we are in tremendous need. But I think what was shown in this case, these are refugees. These are not holiday makers. These are not people who have come to take jobs. These are people who are literally just seeking rest and respite and safety, and might possibly exercise their right to go somewhere else or to make a very meaningful contribution here. And what we have seen is that when many hands add to the pot, it doesn't end up taking from what other people need. But you are right. We have seen those negative comments. I think there is possibly, I think we are exposing things that are possibly, in state circles, government circles, where there's disagreement. We do know that as a nation, we have taken Israel to the ICC and the ICJ, and we do know that that has caused division in our own government of national unity. And I think it could be that there are some people who feel that this is the wrong approach that we have taken here. And we have seen some ugly accusations. But the truth of the matter is, as an organization, Give to the Givers, and I'm certain all these people who have reached out their hands of help, when a person, a human being is in need and arrives on our shores, whether they be from Sudan or from Palestine, it is our moral and humanitarian duty to look to their needs. And I hope that we learn from that the spirit of the law has to be greater than the nitty-gritty of the law when people nitpick about the exit stamp. I want to know, but why are people who are so vulnerable not given an exit stamp? And how could they possibly have had any agency in even asking that, considering that it is the very people who were destroying them and their oppressors who withheld that stamp?
What is also sad is that those that are sending these hurtful comments and targeting and attacking, even like Gift of the Givers, I mean, they accusing Gift of the Givers having a hidden agenda. I don't understand what hidden agenda is there to help humans, because whenever there was any problem that took place, and what is also I've noticed is that those that are commenting are the privileged ones. They're all privileged people, they have everything. And then they're focusing on those that do not have. But how many times have Gift of the Givers responded to the needs of the underprivileged and those that are suffering? They've done, in fact, the government also tends to ask them to get involved in humanitarian work when it comes to the local people.
Absolutely. I often feel that sometimes it's the empty people that make the most noise. And for sure, when people say, but what about our own people? I want to say that as Gift to the Givers, that is a non-argument. 90%, at the very least, 90% of our care and our resources for humanitarian aid are to South Africans within our borders. And it is only right and fitting that we can also extend that to people who arrive in our borders or those to whom we serve outside our borders, because they too are human beings. Particularly as South Africans, we know what our Tata Madiba and Desmond Tutu said. We cannot assume that we are now living in privilege and in freedom in our country, that we can forget about that in Palestine and for the Palestinians. We know firsthand what it took to mobilize the world to force us into freedom ourselves.
And the role that the PLO played also,
Absolutely.
Carry on.
No, I think you're right when you spoke of privilege earlier, and I know your listeners can't see me, but I am a white-skinned, privileged South African, and I feel a particular moral duty that as white South Africans, we continue, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but as a white South African, I continue to benefit of the crime of apartheid. I cannot say it is ended and gone 30 years ago and I no longer benefit. I do. And therefore, it is the moral imperative of those South Africans who do live with privilege to reach out with humanitarian aid, and whether it be in spirit or in deed, we should be doing so within our borders and without.
In fact, 90% of the comments that are posted on the social media platforms are from the so-called privileged white individuals and people. Not so many in the African black, maybe they are, but majority are the whites. And this is hurtful because end of the day, we're not blaming anyone. What has happened and we know what we went through. Now, why do you need to behave in such a way when you know that what you have experienced, what your family have experienced, and what this country have experienced, and how this country has welcomed you thereafter? Because we know that when the ANC came into power, we all were expecting a huge civil rights movements and writing and the civil war that's going to take place and all those things. But eventually, everybody just forgave and moved on.
And I don't think that is to be taken lightly at all. And I think what we saw there was the extension of humanity by our brothers and sisters in South Africa who were severely oppressed. That extension of humanity towards the oppressors, that is what I hope we can extend to other people, and not forget that our brothers are our brothers. And we are, if we have something, it is ours to share and to offer to another person. It is not ours to hold.
Brother Mohamed, we put you on the sideline because apparently, that noise is, Ole, before you go, that noise is coming from you.
The noise cannot come from me. I'm in a room silently with not one person actually being here. So it's not possible.
My brother from another mother, when we put you offline, we put you aside, it went away. We brought you back, the sound is back. Maybe if you want to.
Technician that when I come back, or it's your system that you have.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. You want to ask our questions?
Sarah can hear me first. That's most important.
Sarah, you can hear my co-presenter, my co-host, my boss, sitting in Dubai.
In Dubai, hello, brother. I'm not hearing very well, but I will try.
I must first compliment you and gift of the givers for the fantastic work you do and the humanitarian effort that you do for all nations, all colors, all people from all over the world. So I'm not going to dispute that. A very big thank you to all the people that came together when the flight landed, and South Africans are fantastic as far as that's concerned. But I have concerns, okay? And I want to discuss these concerns with you, so you and I can have a more sort of two-way conversation, including Dr. Jeewa back there in South Africa. There's a number of red flags, Sarah, that worry me, okay? They were moved into, Gazans were moved into Tel Aviv, or bused into to Tel Aviv. The Tel Aviv Ramon airport is controlled by Mossad, it's controlled by Israeli intelligence. It was loaded onto an airplane, and I believe everyone that says that they didn't know where they were going, that's fine. It stopped at, I don't think one place, it stopped at two other places, loaded other so-called refugees onto the aircraft, which is totally against the Geneva Convention, which is Article 49, which you would know. I want to teach you about that. And it's a contravention of every other international law that goes on. So it lands in South Africa. My concern is we need to find out exactly who are these Palestinians. Remember, they got no documentation. Remember, South Africa is hosting one of the biggest and most important G20 summits where the leaders of all the states in the world is going to be actually present in South Africa. My red flag number one is left out of Israeli intelligence controlled area. My red flag number two is that we had other people bought from different airports, which is legally on international not allowed. My red flag number three, the charter flight is owned by a British citizen. Registered in South Africa, that's fine, but it's owned by a British citizen. So whilst you guys must carry on with your humanitarian work, I think it's vitally important that the South African government establish exactly where they come. Is this political prisoners that remained in Israel or were locked up? Are these prisoners that were the hostages that were meant to be sent back into Gaza? More important, are these not families of collaborators that we know existed in Gaza that fed the Israeli government with all the information that they actually needed? That's my only concern. Because, remember, Israel is hell-bent on destabilizing South Africa. And there's no better place to do it than the G20 summit.
I think, as you know, as humanitarians, it is not our job to pursue with this investigation, but I fully agree with you. This must be investigated. I am not aware of different people, joining the flight from different places at all. the witness testimony that we've heard now don't seem to indicate that. But that said, it is early days still. All the passengers are giving their statements, their version of events. I have no reason to disbelieve what they are saying. However, our job is to extend the hand of humanitarian support. But I agree with you. There are certainly red flags. Nothing about this flight sounds above board, and that certainly is a matter for investigation. I'm less inclined to think that the passengers are at fault, and far more inclined to think that there's something behind it that should be exposed. And I truly hope that a very thorough investigation is done.
And I truly hope there's not 10 or 12 Mossad agencies on that flight.
I missed that one. Sorry, Mohammed, I didn't hear that question.
And you and I would truly hope that there's no Mossad agents on the flight.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, there will be due diligence done in between the statements and everything else. I mean, we know in the application for asylum, there must be due diligence done. And I believe that it will be done. We certainly are sure that nobody has disappeared into the blue yonder. Certainly the people that we are dealing with seem to just be absolute normal human beings as a humanitarian organization, we are the optimists. We are the ones that are just going to extend the hand of support. And we hope that anything else that should be done by authorities is done by authorities.
Carry on with the fantastic work that you guys are doing. I think it's amazing what's happening in Johannesburg, and it's amazing about the people that opening up their homes and bringing everything out. That's absolutely fantastic. But I think, and I agree with you, it's not your job as gift of the givers, but I'm sure the government will take some extra efforts into making sure that there's no Mossad agents that's crept into the country under the disguise of refugees or asylum seekers.
Yes, I must say that the people that we've met so far give us they don't give us any reason for concern or reason to disbelieve what they are saying. They truly appear to be in deep need, and certainly not just immediate need that has definitely built up over a considerable time. One doesn't present with malnourishment that quickly. But be that neither here nor there. The investigations must be thorough. They must be done, and I do hope certainly more into the organization that brought them here, the so-called Al-Majd. The reason why there were not stamps issued to people who have flown here, and that these kind of questions are raised and investigated.
Fantastic. Thanks, you, Sarah. Dr. Jeewa?
From an international law perspective, what obligations does the global community have towards displaced Palestinians?
I missed the first start there.
Yeah, so from an international law perspective, what obligation does a global community have towards displaced Palestinians?
So I'm no legal expert, but I do know that if refugees arrive at your doorstep or on your doorstep, fleeing a place that is untenable for human life and safety, then we are obliged to consider their claim for asylum in a way that is fitting with humanitarian and international law, that is dignified. So that I would like to see. Of the greater matter that why people should flee, and the fact that Palestine still, despite the so-called ceasefire, certainly Gaza is no safe place to be a Palestinian right now. The fact that they do not have freedom of movement, and they certainly are not given the right of return, those are matters of global importance. And I do hope that the case at the ICJ and the ICC continue and are pushed, that we don't just have answers, but that we have global action. Things like sanctions, BDS, this kind of pressure must continue so that the source, the root cause is addressed.
So, Sarah, how would you assess South Africa's initial response to the refugees' arrival? Or what should the South African government be doing next, both to support the refugees and protect national sovereignty?
I think what the law prescribes, a fair and dignified consideration of their case for asylum, and making sure, that due diligence is done. I understand government must follow its own rules. It has an obligation of safety to its country, but just so do refugees have the rights of care too. So I would hope that it is not a case of one or the other, but for both.
And do you foresee any diplomatic repercussions or shifts in South African foreign relations as a result of this event?
I must say that is beyond my scope of comment. I deal with the humanitarian side of things, and I am sure where there are discussions to be had, they are. As your colleague mentioned, it is G20 at present. I am aware that not everybody globally or within our own country are particularly excited about our public and our governmental stance on Palestine. But, as I said, I'm an optimist. I think discussions are a good thing. I think discomfort can be a good thing when we address the discomfort and the questions that arise, and that we are brave enough to get to the source of it without discriminating against anybody in the process.
So, in closing, for South Africans listening tonight, what can ordinary people do to support these refugees or raise awareness?
We are, in terms of practical support, we've actually been inundated with generosity. It has been absolutely unbelievable. I think in the general, when you speak of the comments that we see online, I think we have an obligation to do our due diligence and to really read widely and to listen and to truly, as ordinary South Africans, actually ask ourselves, if this was our mother or our brother or our sister, how would we want them to be treated? Because ultimately it comes down to a very, very individual heart issue all of us have. How do we want our fellow human being to be treated? And if we cannot extend that care that we would to our loved ones, to somebody in need, somebody from Palestine arriving on our doorstep, then I think we have to dig a little bit deeper. That is what I would like us to see. We are a nation that is incredibly resilient. We have overcome deep divides within our own country. And I hope that this that we're experiencing now, the division in some opinions towards Palestinians, I hope it urges us to consider inwards what this says about ourselves, and that we actually tackle this, with truth and with honesty, and are able to say, but these are also fellow human beings, and it doesn't have to cost me the earth to extend some form of a hand of friendship.
Mm-hmm. Finally, what do you hope happens in the next few days or weeks regarding the situation?
Regarding this situation, I would hope that that all the arrivals from the first and the second plane can exercise their rights of choice about how they want to and what they want to apply for, that they do it with the full knowledge and understanding of what this entails for them, and that they continue to be surrounded with the humanitarian support that they will still need while they are here. And hopefully on higher levels, I do hope that there are investigations that this matter does not repeat itself, and that Palestinians who do wish to leave of their own choice can do so in ways that are legal and supportive of their needs.
Mm-hmm. I actually just heard a short clip on Al Jazeera. They mentioned that approximately 10,000 Palestinians are already being displaced by using the same tactics by Israel. Those that have already made application to wanting to leave and go into different parts of the world.
Yes, again, I'm not privy to that information. I would not be surprised. I think this is certainly not a new tactic over the globe. In fact, over the centuries, when one nation seeks to oppress or destroy another one, there are different ways of removing people. If not by, actual physical eradication, there are ways to remove people through illegal border movement or whatever. I would not be surprised, but I do think that, again, must be addressed to the root issue, which is if Palestine is free and there is a lasting just peace, then this type of movement should not even be necessary. So we need to maintain our focus on what we can do, which is a peaceful resistance through our BDS struggle.
I mean, I'm sure in our lifetime, I don't think we ever thought that we'll ever see such a genocide taking place where human lives have no value and way people have been treated. It's scared. I don't think you or I or anybody had ever thought that we will see this in real time.
No, and as in my own personal capacity, I am bond to people who were actually the oppressors and the aggressors in Nazi Germany, and I grew up under that shadow, and I never believed that we would see this again. I could not believe that humankind could forget the humanity of another person as a nation, and then attempt to eradicate them. And it has been a very hard thing, I think, for the globe to watch. And like you say, we hope this ends, and by every single peaceful means, I wish that it would.
Brother Mohamed, before we let Sarah go, you have anything else?
There's any other flights maybe planned to come into South Africa, Sarah?
Not that we know of, but I must also say we were never aware of the first one. The only reason we knew of the second one was because of family members. We are not privy to any of that information. I do think that in terms of governmental response, there is going to be scrutiny, for flights like this. And I do hope as part of the investigation that this gets shut down at the source, because it certainly seems to be a form of human trafficking. It could be ethnic cleansing of another form. Either way, even if it isn't those two, drastic terms, it certainly isn't done in a way that is fair towards the Palestinians who are on board. They were certainly exploited.
Keep up the fantastic work you guys are doing. Your guys are amazing. Everyone else at Johannesburg, fantastic. Well done. God bless you, dear. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute privilege and a pleasure.
We're just going to quickly listen to a little bit of the history and background of the place, and let's listen to Pastor Nigel Branken. Listen.
Welcome back. We're still coming to you live from the OR Tambo International Airport. It's been a very, very long day. If you've been following the updates here on Salam Media, the story of 160 Palestinians who were stuck at the tarmac here at OR Tambo. The man who's been with them throughout the day is Nigel. Nigel, you look tired. It proved a very, very long day. Just take us through the day. What happened, background, everything in between.
I'm sorry, I'm very emotional. It's been a very hard day. I think the sum of it for me is this is not what South Africa was supposed to be. We were supposed to be a country that was a constitutional democracy founded on human rights. Palestinian struggles were our struggles. What happened to them was what happened to us. And we cannot allow this to happen. It's still continuing. So as much as I'm getting hugged by everybody here and saying, hey, well done for being on the plane, I've been taken off the plane so that they can continue their operations. Right now, they are busy. We don't know what they're doing. The reason they've taken us off is so that they can communicate in secret. We've watched Lyft Airlines all day give lies to the passengers and tell them lies that they can't apply for asylum. This guy, Nick, who's the head of Border Management Agency in South Africa here, has intentionally lied about the people trying to apply for asylum. I was with a woman who was 9 months pregnant. When I got onto the plane at about 2 o'clock, we walked onto the plane. She was coming down the stairs. We had called an ambulance. That's how we got the plane stopped. The plane was about to take off, and this woman had phoned us. She's pregnant. And when I got on the plane, it was like an incubator. It was so hot. It was unbearable. One door was open. There were little kids on the plane, and their hair was completely wet. I saw one child being held who had all completely fainted in their dad's arms.
What was the main issue? Was it documentation? Was it them not going through the proper channels? I mean, you were there. What was the main issue that blocked them from ultimately getting into South Africa?
I have absolutely no idea. I can tell you that I've spoken to everybody. We have heard instructions from everybody in government from all over. And what we've been told at the highest levels of government is these people are going to be let in and they're going to be allowed to apply for asylum. But this Border Management Agency is some counter-revolutionary force within our within our country. It's just unacceptable. How can we not allow people who are coming from a genocide to apply for asylum? Surely that is the most fundamental right, is when you're being genocided to have asylum. That must be your fundamental right. How is that okay? So I have to think, I mean, from the beginning, I mean, we had a plane arrive about, I'm sorry, I've lost track of time, and I've been up pretty much for 3 weeks. We had a plane arrive. I heard of a family that was, that had just come from Palestine. Somebody contacted me. I've been helping Palestinians. So I went out. They were in Roodepoort, 13.5 kilometers away from the closest mall. And that's when I first got alerted to what Al-Majd was doing. They had brought these people into the first plane, arrived. There was 27 odd families, 176 people on that plane. They booked them accommodation in hotels across the city of Joburg. Everybody was placed at different hotels. The first family I went to 3 weeks ago was a father. He had been separated from his wife from before the genocide. He had 2 young kids, and they were thin as a rake, like gaunt. And so I started taking him around. I found the first bank that I found was 13.5. I mean, I spent 6 hours with him just trying to help him relax. And then we had a whole lot of organizations that just came in. I have to say to the Muslim community, I have never seen care at this level as I've seen from Muslim people across this country who have given generously, provided accommodation. We've had medical teams that have gone out to visit families. We've had this week operations on children's teeth from the malnutrition. There was a child on the plane that I saw just now. Her teeth, it was a little child. I don't know what gender the child was, but I just noticed the teeth all black. And many of the children that I've seen this week have had these black teeth. We've seen, so I went from that family, I went to a family in Braamfontein. There was a family in the Oval. There was a family in the inner city. People had been placed all across the city. That's what Al-Majd is doing. They just want to displace Palestinians. And if you go to the media now, you'll see there's 16 planes that Israel has sent out to the world, trying to ethnically cleanse everybody who has any wealth. I've met with doctors. I've met with psychologists, with teachers this week. So that was the context. We heard from them that there was this plane coming.
Let's talk about the latest now. There was a lot being said about whether or not they'll be allowed back into the country. There were reports that others have actually, been allowed to leave. Others are in Malaysia, Australia, and the numbers is not as complete as when they arrived. How true is that? And then what's the latest now? What's going to be happening?
So before we got on the plane, there were 14 people that were taken off the plane that had already made decisions to go to other countries. And they were taken to other countries. And during the course of the day, what we've watched, so on the plane, I mean, just to make it absolutely clear, I think that I don't know, but I want to ask the Palestinian solidarity community what we do about Lift Airlines. Lift Airlines was involved with the first flight and the second flight. They're involved in ethnically cleansing Palestinians from Gaza. I do not think that it is okay for them to have an operating license if they are using it to traffic people to South Africa, because those people came without documentation. Their passports were not stamped. They were taken through the border intentionally to not have passport stamps. And that is the little technicality that our government is using to deny them entry to South Africa. But we have refugee law. Refugee law demands that people should be able to apply for asylum, whether they have documents or not, whether they enter the country legally or not. Everybody has the right to apply for asylum, especially if they're fleeing the conditions that those people have come from Gaza.
Still no word about what's going to be happening to them now. Where are they being kept at this current moment?
So we have lawyers working on it. We have diplomatic and political teams working on contacting everybody at high levels of government. I'm just so grateful for people like Imtiaz Suleiman, Gift of the Givers, Zahira Balm from Caring Women's Forum, those kinds of people that have just been there, been present, been giving, and they sent us. I ate for the first time today at about, I don't know what the time is now, about an hour ago.
Yeah.
I ate about an hour ago, and I got on the plane at 2, and I had a cup of coffee for breakfast in the morning, and then we were just running around. But the people on the plane, that was the first food that they got. Imagine an airline leaving people on the tarmac for a whole day with little kids. I mean, there's babies on that plane. There's little kids on the plane, leaving them on the tarmac all day. There's no air conditioning on that plane. I asked the pilot, can we put the air conditioning? He says, we do not have facilities to put air conditioning on. There's no toilets on that plane. So they had to take the people off the plane and bring them to the toilet, and then they just brought them straight back onto the plane. I'm sorry, what is wrong with South Africa? How can you do that to people?
Thank you so much. We'll definitely be chatting with you to get more updates. But yeah, really appreciate your efforts.
I'll just say one more thing. I know a lot of Palestinians are going to watch this video. And I want to say to you, and I'm looking at family members here now, I want to say to you, you are not alone. We, South Africans, will stand with you. If our government fails you, we will stand with you. You are not alone. I want to tell you, you are not alone. I'm looking at the father now of one of the passengers on the plane. His daughter is 9 months pregnant. He told me that the plane was coming. If it wasn't his bravery and his intervention, we wouldn't have known that that plane was coming. We contacted Durko and told them Durko did not know the plane was coming. It was because of this man's intervention that we knew that that plane was coming. And I'm looking at him, and I want to say, I saw your child, I saw your son-in-law, and I saw your grandchild on the plane. They're not in good conditions, but we need to fight for them. I want to call all South Africans now, call everybody that you know. Let's not go to bed tonight early. Let's fight until all those people are given refugee status, are allowed into this country, and are allowed to be embraced by us, South Africans who care.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a live interview at OR Tambo Airport on Thursday. Brother Mohamed, you there? You can hear me? Brother Mohamed?
I can hear you now, but the sound was very...
Yeah. Okay. Just excuse me, I'm getting a bad echo and it's affecting the thoughts and making it very, very difficult. If you listen to this Pastor Nigel Branken, Brother Mohamed, have you noticed that all this has come to the fore by chance and by mistake? Because it seems like a couple of weeks prior to this, planes have landed. And here is a pastor who's involved in community work, was approached by one or two of these Palestinians who arrived in one of these flights and asked for assistance. And then it was mentioned that there's another plane coming. So, if you look at it, there were planes that were coming in all this time under the cover, under wraps, very, very quietly. And in order for you to send a chartered plane from one part of the world to another, you have to have proper documentation and paperwork, and you also have to be approved by that country. Am I right? So these guys have had huge contact and influence to be able to slip the one or two flights into this country quietly.
No, absolutely, and that's what's scary, because you and I and nobody else knew about the first plane. I never knew anything about it. I don't even know where it landed. But I'm sure they had documentation, because aviation rules wouldn't allow them to disembark without aviation. And while Nigel is a pastor, and I heard he's very emotional, and he's done some fantastic work, you must just be a bit careful about openly condemning the South African government. I think if it wasn't for the South African government, they could have easily sent those aeroplanes back. So I think South Africans also are quite aware of the fact that we support Palestinians 100%, and the humanitarian groups are doing fantastic work. Families in Joburg are doing amazing work. But there's laws, and I think whilst they had to bend it, I think it's fair that they do it. So we can't just be too critical of the government, because I mean, if they were that nasty, they could have turned it back. So, but everyone's doing fantastic work, and I'm glad to have them. I have voiced my concern about Mossad insurgency, and I hope that that group that brought them here, Maj group, is thoroughly investigated. And listen, we've got to find out what role Lift has played in this entire thing. Somebody has to find out what's happening.
In fact, the pastor, I can understand why he spoke the way he spoke, because he was very emotional, being involved prior to that and also during the day. And at that time, when he spoke, that was still where the passengers were still on the flight, and nothing was moving. Things started only moving around in the night, because of discussions taking place, between DIRCO and then the Department of Home Affairs, and then the president got involved, and so all that. So that is why he reacted and responded in that way. Frank sent a message. Frank, hey, salams to all at Al-Ansar, including our listeners and guests. An asylum seeker is a person who has left their country and is seeking protection from persecution and serious human rights violations in another country, but who hasn't yet been legally recognized as refugee and is waiting to receive a decision on their asylum claim. The arrival of Palestinians have various Facebook posts, but what is concerning is a labeling of these desperate folks as terrorists and other negative perceptions, many by our people of our own. It's an Indian community and as well of people coming from the north. But I've seen it very common among the white community. Late Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian people supported us during apartheid, so the South African government is obliged to assist them, asylum seekers, and this is from Frank. In fact, to be very honest with you, when you read the comments, and I'm going to try and read some of the comments a bit later, they went to the extent of saying that they're bringing Hamas into this country, and Hamas has a plan to take over, and we're going to bring Sharia law, and the Muslims want to take over this country. I mean, we are talking about human beings, irrespective of race, color, religion, and creed, And here you are speaking about bringing terrorists. Social media, irrespective of what, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook. And I want you to read those comments. By you staying silent and having that ostrich mentality where you bury your understand, you're looking for serious trouble. Because these guys are spitting out hate, they're spitting out disunity, they're spitting out filth to such a level that they're degrading us as Muslims. And again, even an organization like Gift of the Givers, and a lot of our Muslim organization and charitable organization, they help the local people, they help the underprivileged. A lot of people have noticed this. But these that are sitting in their privilege homes and a privileged state are basically attacking from all directions. But again, this is mainly because we are quiet and we are in our comfort zones and we are living our life and we have all the luxuries and we are entitled and it's not our problem. Come on, guys. Learn to be proactive. Yes, Brother Mohammed, put something that's negative towards somebody in the Muslim community. And we know we've had a lot of posts that have went viral. How do people react? How do people act? How they'll send the messages around? How they'll comment? But here is a situation dealing with human rights violation. And people who have come in just with a back, going to a country. In fact, quite a number of those people on the plane don't even know.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me. Okay, some of you. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now Spoo is trying to play around with the settings to get the noise. Spoo, just leave it. It's fine. I'll manage with that. So what I'm saying is that our people are not proactive. They need to learn to become proactive. They need to go on social media and counteract these comments and statements. Do it with humility. Don't do it with hatred. Don't stoop to their level, but be proactive. But I'm yet to see maybe 1%, 5% of Muslims basically will comment in this. Where's the rest? And after looking at all these comments, it's becoming scary that the amount of people that are against Islam and Muslims in this country. We never saw it because it was all happening quietly. And here now it's getting exposed. So I think it's very crucial that we need to wake up. You heard me, Brother Mohammed?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, our people just don't respond. And I think why they don't respond is because they don't know how to respond. And because they don't know how to respond, they don't know the history of their religion. They don't know the story of Palestine because we don't read. Our general knowledge is poor, so we don't respond. But let me give you a story about somebody or someone else in our community. We get 500 responses. The phone won't stop ringing. We should have, okay, I'm not very active on Facebook, unfortunately, but there's a number of our people that are very active on Facebook. They should have gone to defended those comments that were made, right? That's what you're saying, right? You said those should be, and maybe I agree with you. We mustn't stoop to their level, and maybe they just talk from ignorance. Who is going to educate them? And the mere fact that people think like the way they do in this country, when we have so many dawah people doing dawah work, it's scary. I agree with you. And Dr. Jeewa, you'll find out of ignorance. I'd like to find out one of them, call them and explain to them what's going on, and I'm sure the entire attitude will change. But you're right, we keep quiet and we leave them to go on with Hamas and Sharia like this and Muslims like that, and we want to take over the country. Dude, we must be how many Muslims in South Africa? I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, I must tell you that, we tend to get Muslims that are ready to open their homes here. Rashida send them around, my brothers. I wish I could bring some of them that came to South Africa to come live with me for that days. Yes, but I can tell you one thing. Our Muslims will really open their doors. That's one thing I can say. But
our generosity is unmatched. True.
Yeah. But the thing is that by us being quiet and being attacked, that is where it becomes very, very scary. I was going to say, I was seeing the video at the Joburg airport to be in South Africa. They were actually more happy to actually be off that plane because you can imagine we were moved from the country and really didn't know where they were getting to or where they were going. Let's see another message here. Look at Donald Trump. In his country, he's dispatching refugees anywhere in the world. Now, Israel has been the same. I will bet that our government will think the same as Donald Trump. But Mohammed Shafi Ismail. No, our government won't think the same as Donald Trump. Our government has a history of always standing against those that are underprivileged. Okay. Yeah, somebody sent a message here from somebody that put a post on Facebook. And this guy said South Africa cannot afford to be naive. The arrival of Palestinians sent by Israel to South Africa, not just a humanitarian, nor a solidarity matter. It needs to be carefully evaluated as an act of aggression, war crime, and part of destabilization of South Africa. The question as to whether these are refugees must be asked. No one is allowed to, and especially not onto Israel, yet this plane came from Tel Aviv, and some of the passengers boarded from 2 other airports. We need to be rational about how we deal with the scenario. There are a number of serious questions that all of us need to be asked. The government needs to be asking about Israel and Mossad's extradition program, corruption in mass group illegally to South Africa on slave planes. This comes across as a well-coordinated Israeli operation in cooperation with Zionist cult organization operating as an anti-South fifth column for Israel. The entire operation is unlawful and well-planned. Palestinians arrive on a chartered flight, Global Airlines registered in South Africa, owned by a British citizen, red flag, Zionist cult operation red flag, that the British and USA government may be involved with Israel. It has the recent forced migration of refugees and prisoners to other countries' footprint. The plane left from Tel Aviv airport, controlled by Israeli intelligence and military. They had Israeli-issued passports without exit stamps. There's another red flag. Red flag is that this was an Israeli government orchestrated expulsion for people. It stopped at other airports outside of Israel to take on more refugees. They apparently traveled via 2 other countries before arriving in South Africa, in which these refugees, if they are or were refugees, is a violation of international law. Okay, it goes on here. The Palestinians are not allowed to leave Gaza, where they kidnap are the hostages. Your brother, I think he'll take me the whole time. But thank you very much. This by the last paragraph, we have no choice in this scenario. The second and not last of this type, but the failure of our intelligence, security service, and government to deal with a repeated threat has to be questioned. Something is highly amiss. And the top post. Thank you very much for explaining all this in detail. Just found this post on Facebook. Brother Mohammed, concerns are true. We don't know who these passengers really are, but they are in dire need of humanitarian assistance. That's what's important.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we must help them as much as we can, and I'm sure Gift of the Givers and lots of the families in Joburg and all over the country is being very helpful for them. We would, maybe at the end of the day, there are general Palestinian refugees seeking asylum. No problem. We'll worry about economic impact on our country later on. We'll worry about the job seeking later on. We'll worry about the pressure on the government later on. It's become humanitarian. But I want to repeat this. It's important that our intelligence find out exactly who these people are. Because remember, Mossad had Palestinian collaborators. There are 100% Palestinian within Gaza that gave information to Mossad that we're able to get rid of our people. So I'll be happy under one condition, that they're thoroughly investigated. Lift, thoroughly investigated. The British aircraft owner, thoroughly investigated. The private organization that charged them to come here, thoroughly investigated. That's what we must do. I'll hate to find bombs going off, the G20 destabilized. We're going to have the most important governments of the world come to this country. It's easy to destabilize South Africa from the outside. And Mossad is the most advanced, technologically intelligent agency in the world. We all know that. We all know that. They'll sit in Israel and they do something wrong in South Africa. That's my fear.
They got the history, yeah. They got you can see throughout history, they have been involved in a lot of red flags.
They're masters of disguise, they're masters of bombing, they're masters of everything. We cannot deny that.
I sent a message. He said these, I won't mention what he said. These people with a negative comment should find out how many people that have been sending these negative comments have dual citizenship with South Africa and Israel or South Africa and other countries. It's just arrogance and stupidity. So
Yeah,
for
I
them
want
to,
it, it may be just Zionist influence as well. Remember that, because there's a big movement to be anti-Islam and Islamophobic, especially in South Africa, because the fact that we are taking them to the ICJ. So they are spending billions and billions of dollars to infiltrate false media into South Africa. So ignore them. They can stand ahead and actually whistle. The government will still do what's in the best interest of the Palestinian people. And I'm confident about it.
that's true. Let's listen to this.
Very traumatized. But there's a back-end story to this. This is not the first plane. This is the second plane. On the 28th of October, a plane arrived in Aniwar Jeewa Airport. And these people were displaced. They didn't know where to go. They had no contact numbers, no phone numbers. And United from the Church found them and started putting them together with other civil society organizations, and members of my team got involved. I'm not sure how they found them, where they were displaced. There were 176 of them, and then some of them went back to other countries. The family members of this first group then told us yesterday that their family members are coming on the second plane, and nobody knew about that plane. And it seems from their feedback, Israel is voluntarily removing people from Gaza. This is ethnic cleansing at its best, and taking away their goods, their hygiene packs, their food, sending them onto chartered planes, and the government has to investigate how people are coming on chartered planes without stamps. Israel did not put passports, but they sort of traveled illegally, brought into South Africa, and the second plane came in this morning at 8 o'clock. The border management authority didn't allow them to get off the plane simply because they were following the rules, that there is no stamp on the passport, and they were trying to follow rules and not able to stamp. I got hold of Zane Dango, he's in Canada. Of course, he spoke to the minister and other people in Durko. I spoke to the border management authority, other people involved in this issue, and just about the stamp. Of course, now this afternoon, the minister is writing to the Minister of Home Affairs because that's his policy or his portfolio to waive the stamp requirement, so these people then could come into the airport or come to the country and seek asylum. What's worrying for me is, why should people be writing to Home Affairs when Home Affairs themselves could have realized that this is a humanitarian crisis and they could have waived that requirement themselves without waiting for a letter to come from them. In any case, they're hungry, there's a pregnant woman, there's children, they're caught in that plane for 8 or 10 hours, perspiring, the haze, so the plane is in a terrible condition, no proper food, the one toilet or two toilets is not enough, and those people are really distraught, coming from 2 years of genocide. We've provided meals, and it's not only us, civil society organizations are getting involved. A lot of people already offered food, clothing, medical support. Our medical teams did see the first team that came a few days ago, and now they are ready to take the second team out. And also, people have offered houses, and lots of people want to get involved. We're very grateful for South Africans. We're grateful for the government for making this happen, in keeping with our policy of taking Israel to ICC and to ICJ, and of course getting countries in Bogota to put sanctions against Israel. So we really appreciate the efforts of our government. It's just that the border management authority had to follow the mandate because these are civil servants. They can't do what they want. They have to follow the law.
That was Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, his take on what really transpired, and this is what took place around on that Thursday. So you tune into Nightline, your Saturday night companion right here on Radio Lansar, broadcasting live on 90.4 FM in Durban, 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg. Every week from 8:30 till late, we open the lines for honest conversation, exploring real stories, real struggles, and real inspiration. So yes, send us your messages or your voice note on 060-904-1056. Brother Mohamed?
Suleiman is correct. There's a lot of hate mail against Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, and knowing him, he just ignores it. He carries on with his work. He's doing fantastic work, and he doesn't only help Muslims. I mean, I've read that so many times. It's absolute nonsense. He helps anyone in the country that has a problem. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must keep him strong and keep up the excellent work that they are doing.
Mm-hmm. I was reading one guy's post here, which I copied, and this guy is an South African social influencer, and he really spoke negatively about Palestinians allowed. And just to give you a brief idea of what he said, he says, as a South African, I do not support foreigners being allowed into South Africa if it isn't for legal, tourism, work, or business. He said this story of Palestinians brought in willy-nilly is a reminder that the South African government does not give a, I won't use the word, about South African citizens. Additionally, with the high inequality and poverty in South Africa, the country should not be a refugee or asylum state at all. But it's clear that the financial interests of politicians and their funders is what's key. Voting is a scam, and the Constitution honestly doesn't care for ordinary citizens. And I even saw his post in detail. He calls himself the Black Pen. Now, people keep on saying, what about us South Africans that are suffering, living in poverty, do not have homes, do not have food, do not have this? The question is, whose fault is that? It's the government. We know how much of money have been stolen, right? That same amount of billions that have been stolen, right, and put into a few elite, and mind you, not blasting them, but 99% of them that are involved in corruption are South African blacks. And they are harming and affecting their own people. We try to do whatever we can. So the situation of bringing refugees in here, right, you cannot blame the refugees for coming into this country and they are taking all the necessary resources. We know that there's a lot of Africans from different parts of Africa that have come in all different ways, legally, illegally, and whatever it is. Why? Because they're coming for greener pasture, for better life. Because they're not coming. I mean, if their country was doing so great and so well, you think all these guys will come here. Yes, we do get the criminal elements that come in over here. But it's sad to see that these people tend to have these type of comments. Why we're not doing anything for ours, and why we're not doing this and things like that. I mean, end of the day, again, it's very important to understand that they have to basically take into consideration. I'm just trying to look at these comments, some of his comments here, and you can go ahead, Brother Mohamed, you can comment.
Yeah, but I also want you to. I would also like you to read the other comment that came from going to you, so-called white South Africans, and let's just analyze it. Let's just trying to work out like the way they think. I just want to hear what they say. So if you have some of them, please read it for me. Let me hear it.
Yeah. So just to give you a brief idea, here is a guy said, maybe the lovely people from Europe and America buying all the prime lands should assist with housing. I don't see anyone complaining about that or wonder why. I don't know what he means by that. This one guy says, I don't want to be an alarmist and I'm for all helping people in need. However, I'm a firm believer that charity starts at home. There are so many needy people in this country that could do with housing and feeding. Sadly, history is replaced with incidents of Muslim refugees who never assimilate into the society of the adopted country. They feel marginalized and can be easily become radicalized. This can be very often lead to tragic attacks on innocent victims on the very country that took them in. I hope this will not happen here. It's an opening of the can of worms. So they're saying that Muslims are coming to the country. They're going to basically destroy the country and they are terrorists as per se, you know. So somebody else commented in a positive light, Muslims are like this. Number one, in giving and taking care of each other. I don't know what they mean by this. Okay. Another person said, my personal opinion, if they could help with housing people from another country, why not help house people in their own? Help with decreasing homelessness here, help single moms who have no way out. Apparently a single mom went to them for help and was turned down I'm sure that the majority of our government funding is being used across all race and religion. Okay. Another guy said, what's the situation in the next 20 planes that arrive in this manner? Okay. Again, another white. In South Africa, thousands of South Africans are white, black, and others living in the streets. No houses, no jobs, no nothing. Why? Nobody seems to care. Why not help them on your own instead of focusing from other countries? Why can't everyone struggle in their own countries? Okay. They say
country.
Yeah. Why don't they go and struggle in their own country? Yeah. Why are people destroying those countries? Yeah. Another person says, gift of the givers are welcoming their brothers. So don't be surprised. And Ramaphosa got money. He got paid from these people. Again, what about our people in our own country? Okay. Then somebody says, first is 130 will turn into 10,000 in a year. Yeah. I'm telling you, these comments, speaking about who chartered the plane. Okay, so this is this one part. I mean, there's lots of comments. I'm looking for other comments as I find it. Let's see. Messages are very, very quiet, Brother Mohammed.
Yeah. I don't know why, though. They fast asleep and nothing to say, or they're just not, the general knowledge is actually too weak. I don't understand why. I mean, they should be able to respond to this, and you don't have to have brains to respond to this. There's a whole plane of refugees that were suffering for 2 years, got no food, no medical facilities, got no health, they're starving. I mean, you can open your arms, gladly, that's for sure, but I'm sure you'll be able to comment. But I've always told you that on talk shows, our Muslim brothers don't comment. And I don't want to say why they don't comment, but they just don't comment because they're too used to listening to messages from other people than reading themselves. So,
yeah, there's another comment here, and this is when President Ramaphosa has agreed and allowed them to come into the country. The person say, "This president is a disgrace. He has thrown open the gate for unchecked movement across our borders, offering only cheap talk of action while achieving next to nothing. And now he extends the invitation even further. His leadership is a root of decay, manifesting in our society the worst president South Africa has endured, dismantling accountability while letting disorder seep into every corner of public life. If the gatekeeper has abandoned his post, then do the people must rise as watchmen of their own walls. We must build the foundation ourselves before the whole house collapses." Okay.
You know what's very sad? And it may be just a small amount of selfish people that got small hearts. I mean, what did they really expected us or wanted the government to send those planes away? With people suffering, no toilet, no food, no water, no air conditioner. Is that how you is that how you operate? I mean, is that the type of heart? You know, South Africans have got the most beautiful hearts in the world. The most beautiful hearts in the world. And there's just a bunch of ignorant fools who don't know the history of the Palestinians. Let me tell you something, which number of people that are listening tonight, and we call silent listeners. Do you know prior to October 7th, Doc, prior to October, the Israelis controlled a caloric diet that goes into Gaza. Did you know that? They controlled the food, the protein levels, and they kept it just above starvation. How many people know that?
That's true. I mean, you know, with the war taking place in Russia and the Ukrainians, I'm sure if a plane load of Ukrainians come over here, you think they are going to react and respond the same way, especially the white South Africans?
Can you see this message on, I think it's on Facebook?
Yeah, by Osman said, "I feel that how South Africans reacted was correct without an iota of doubt. There is no room for hate. However, I look upon that as an inefficiency within some departments of South African government. We are truly indebted to Palestine. Nelson Mandela words were that nobody is free until Palestine is free. So we shouldn't mind welcoming Palestinians to our shore and help them in every possible way. Brother Mohamed Variawa brought a very, very important matter that these may possibly, I think the message is cut. They're even going to the level of saying that Cyril Ramaphosa knew about all this and allowed this to take place. And also he says that gift of the givers, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, basically has a plot. Yeah, another one says he knew this plot from the start. That is why he's not shocked as usual. And somebody said, yeah, they either hijacked that plane or that flight was booked and paid for. You don't fly the length of Africa on a whim. Who funded the flight? Somebody said, send them back or we get flooded. And these are all whites that are sending this. Somebody said they should settle them at Pala Pala Palestinian and give them each a couch. I mean, people are suffering.
Our work in these areas that are so predominantly white. Maybe I must just have a chat to Brother Sabir Pasha. Maybe we must take a group of people into these predominantly white areas and maybe do some dawah work there.
Yeah. Somebody else wrote, Ramaphosa is provoking us. He knows we won't do anything besides complaining on social media. That's why he's always laughing. And he mentioned laughing like a hyena. Same thing in South Africa. And again, these are only whites, Brother Mohamed. ANC must never govern this country again. South Africans, our country needs us more than ever. DA, same shocking story in Western Cape. Immigrants are taking over. I don't know if Brother Mohamed is gone. Let's see if I can still read that question. Okay, Brother Mohamed brought, no, they're still not the full. Is he here? Brother Mohamed not here. Okay. Seem to have been disconnected.
That we're paying attention to. We obviously need to look at the origins, where it started, the reason why they've been brought here. And ordinarily we would have said they should go back because they didn't have any documentation. But out of empathy, out of compassion, and because they are a people that we as South Africa have raised our hands to support, we felt that we should accept them and process their matter. So their matter is being processed. We are discussing it. Our intelligence agency is involved, and Home Affairs is involved, and DERCO is also involved. So we're going to do a proper evaluation and see what the future portends when it comes to this.
Yeah, so that was President Ramaphosa's statement. What's ironic to me is that these black South Africans who negatively comment on the Palestinians being granted refugee status, but it's okay that approximately 2 million Zimbabwean citizens are here in South Africa as refugees are sometimes illegal. I mean, look, irrespective of wherever they come from, it's not about speaking about Palestinians or whites or Indians or blacks or coloreds. It's basically human beings. Salams, Dr. Jeewa and Brother Mohamed. South Africa is the best country in the world because Islam help people from any country, and our government is ever ready to accept foreign people. Gift of the givers do wonderful work, thanks to Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman. So again, as we had mentioned, just to recap, Palestinians who were misled by a suspicious group who had alleged links to Israel and places of safety in South Africa, according to Gifts of the Givers. 130 of the 153 has chosen to remain in South Africa, says that they have no choice of seeking asylum, or otherwise they got a choice of going to another country. The circumstances of the Palestinian arrival in South Africa have a sinister tinge to them. These activists assisting the Palestinians allege that there may be elements in South Africa trying to embarrass the country by creating the scenario. Pretoria has been a diplomatic thorn in the side of Israeli entity, and it took the regime to the International Court of Justice for its genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The activists contend that Israel created the scenario by denying the Palestinians the necessary exit stamps required by South Africa to receive foreign nationals. The Israeli entity controls the exit point from Gaza and occupied Palestinian lands. The Palestinians did not know that they've been taken to South Africa. They boarded a chartered plane in occupied Palestine, which then traveled to Nairobi. From there, they weren't sure where they'd been flown. And we spoke about early on where Sarah has explained to the situation in the state that these people are. So in a world growing harsher by the day, in a time when being Palestinian has become an invitation for abandonment, another surreal chapter unfolds. And that is one that surpasses even the tragedies we thought we had already seen. Dozens of Palestinians who escaped Gaza after months of fire and destruction suddenly found themselves stranded inside a plane that landed in South Africa, unable to touch ground, and as if the sky had carried them, had grown too small, and the earth that received them had refused to let them in. They were not ordinary hours of waiting, they were few chapters of suffering. Imagine thousands of kilometers fleeing death, only to end up imprisoned in a narrow seat, holding a passport holding a passport no one wants to acknowledge, and a fear no one is willing to understand. As we said, a group of 150 to 170 Palestinian infants, exhausted women, elderly men, trapped inside a sealed aircraft, while the world looks at them as procedures, not as souls fighting for survival. What later emerged was even more disturbing. The evacuation from Gaza had not been coordinated by the United Nations, nor by international agencies, nor by any official Palestinian or humanitarian authority. Instead, multiple testimonies point to something far more alarming. The departure from Gaza to Ramon Airport, a crossing Palestinian never chooses unless desperation leaves no other door, was arranged through an obscure online platform operated by an unidentified organization, which was described as suspicious, unreliable, and moving in ways that no one can explain. From Gaza to crossing to Ramon Airport, the path itself was wrapped in secrecy. How could an unknown entity coordinate the exit of dozens of families from a besieged territory? How did they obtain permits? Why was everything rushed and hidden? And then came the details that cut the deepest. Families were told only to pack small bags. Then some were forced to leave those behind when entering through the control checkpoints. Imagine fleeing your destroyed home with nothing. No memories, no photos, no clothing, just your body, your phone, your passport, and a few bills of cash that mean almost nothing once you become displaced. Worse still, the passengers were never told their final destination. The plane first stopped in Nairobi, then they were transferred to a chartered aircraft headed to South Africa without explanation, as if they were cargo being moved from one container to another without clarity, without agency, without dignity. And so the big question began to take shape. What is actually happening? Who planned this operation? Who has the capability and the audacity to move Palestinians out of Gaza and then fly them across continents under a fog of confusion, but even the receiving governments cannot decipher? Concerns were deepened when activists mentioned the possibility of a connection, which was unverified but alarming, between the organizing entity and the Israel. And if it's true, what does that mean? Was this humanitarian evacuation, or was this a political maneuver disguised as a rescue, where these people offered protection or are they used as pawns, props, or leverage in a larger hidden games? South Africa, one of Palestine's strongest allies, was stunned when the passengers arrived with no official Israeli exit stamp on their passport. This alone triggered hours of detention as authorities struggled to understand where did they come from, how did they travel, and who is responsible for them. And at that moment, those families who had already lost their homes, buried their children, carried more pain than any human should, were forced to wait again, not because of a bomb or a siege or a military checkpoint, but because truth itself was missing. And truth in this case is not a technical detail. Truth is the difference between protection and exploitation. Are we witnessing a political smuggling operation? Or is it a network profiting from human misery? Or is it a covert initiative using Palestine's suffering for an agenda hidden beneath humanitarian language? If not, then why all the secrecy? Why were the families not told their destination? Why was the organizing entity silent and unnamed? We see this cruel scene, families trapped inside a plane, suspended between a sky that failed them and an earth that refused them, is not just an incident. It is a mirror of what it means to be Palestinian today. Hunted even while fleeing, used even while begging for protection, denied clarity even while standing at the threshold of survival. What happened must not pass unnoticed. There must be a full, transparent investigation, which is necessary, one that bows to neither politics nor pressure. The coordinating organization must be identified, the motives exposed, its funding revealed, and above all, these Palestinian families must be safeguarded from being turned into tools in battles that are not theirs. They are not numbers or on a report, not files in a bureaucracy, not leverage in political negotiation. These are human beings who have escaped a massacre by a single step, and they must not fall into a new trap disguised as help. Palestinian is not weak, but is exhausted, not voiceless, but is unheard, not homeless, is searching for a corner of the world where they can exist with dignity, even temporarily. This incident is not a footnote, it's another chapter in a story written with blood, waiting, and incomplete survival. And this was posted by Fares Abdul Lebda, 14 November, that's today. Beautiful post, Brother Mohammed. Are you there? I don't know if he froze. Brother Mohammed, can you hear me? Okay. Messages are coming in. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a shame that our fellow South Africans are behaving so racist towards the Palestinians. These people have been through hell. If they want them to go back to where they came from, then why don't the Zionists go back to where they came from? There seems to be more difference between the 1820 settlers who were white and current Jewish settlers. Both remove the native people from their lands. Typical colonialism. That is so true. Shabir Basha from Dawa Dynamics. He heard you, Brother Mohammed. I don't know. Brother Mohammed seems to have froze. Okay. Seems to have disappeared. Salams, guys. I want to comment on the white communities in South Africa. IPCI, as Maulana Ismail Musa, an expert in comparative religion, has been visiting and conducting programs in halls and churches within the white communities. I can say for certain there is progress within the change on their views on Islam. The negative comments coming through are merely Zionist backers, and we'll certainly look into these negative comments and respond accordingly. Thank you very much, Shabir. We appreciate, and that's what we need to do. We need to engage with people and educate them, because the comments that we read are very, very painful. And what is said is that these same individuals, majority of them that are commenting, these same individuals, I must say, were living during the times of apartheid and benefiting from apartheid. So, it's sad to see that now they have become like the police of this country and saying that who can come in and who can't come in, and what about our local people? Yes, our local people are suffering. My question is, what are you doing about it? We as Muslims, we quietly do things about it. We don't speak. We have no agenda of making this a Muslim state. We have no agenda of trying and you all perceive that all Muslims are terrorists. I mean, end of the day, you need to get your facts right, and I think that is very, very true. I don't know if you heard the comment I read, Brother Mohammed, about Shabir Basha. He said,
yeah, I know that was very good. He's 100% correct. I'm quite aware of Ismail Musaji, and I'm glad that he does a lot of work in the white community, because I think work needs to be done there, because I think they are influenced by Western media. So sometimes I don't really want to put the fault at their door for the ignorance. Is no one took the effort or made the effort to go across to them and explain to them exactly what's happening. And you know, with the number of friends I have in South Africa that are white, they started off with the same type of mentality. But if you explain to them the history and go back in history and tell them exactly the sequence of events, many of them change their opinion, and you tend to win them towards your side. So I think that's what we should do. Maybe get Shabir Basha to make an extreme effort to go into the mainly white areas instead of focusing only on our so-called indigenous black areas. We need to go into some of the white areas as well.
I'm reading a message on Facebook. Thank you very much from our Facebook listeners. From Mohammed Ibrahim, he says, Imcha Suleiman, I hope you read in the comments. Oops, what you didn't spoon? Okay. Imcha Suleiman, I hope you read in the comments about us Muslims. I did not know how much hate there. He also confirms. They spew on social media and what they're hiding in their hearts. The same people you helped everywhere, even during the July riots and the fires in squatter camps, and those farmers showing their hate for our Palestinian people that have been blown to pieces every day from 1948. He says we need to focus only on our communities. And then he used the vulgar language, which I don't want to use. But I don't blame you, because honestly, I felt the same. Here is a Muslim that basically responded. And look how beautiful the Muslim person responded to all these hateful comments. Says here, the sad comments of my fellow South Africans. So quickly we have forgotten the struggles of our oppressed grandparents. So quickly have we become pro-apartheid and forgotten the white supremacy that ran the show on South Africa. So sad we ignored Madiba's words. So sad we cannot see we are doing to others what others did to us. These people were tricked into a plane and sent out. This is ethnic cleansing at the best. The Zionists have fooled a whole lot of us. These xenophobic, pro-apartheid, supremacy comments shows that South Africa has not learned its lessons, that we have a very, 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 very long way to go. And if we don't repair the broken humanity, we will not prosper. God help us. And then, here is a white person, put a comment by the name of Tracy. I won't use your surname. Don't want to embarrass you so much. Is this not the beginning of Islam? Look what this lady is saying. Is this not the beginning of Islam trying to take over South Africa like they're trying to do in Europe? We will not accept Sharia law taking over our democracy. South Africa must stand up for the freedom of all its citizens.
You see, once again, I want to outline to you. When they believe that it's Muslim, they then talk about Sharia law. I don't know where they get this mentality from, and I'd like to give them again the benefit of the doubt, because they're speaking from a point of ignorance. And our Dawah guys need to focus on Dawah in those areas. And Shabir Basha, I'm sure, he is listening to us. He listens to us every Saturday night. He's a very good listener of ours. So he listens to us every night. I'm sure he will do something or make some effort to make sure that the truth reaches them.
Mm. And here another individual says, South Africans, all black and white, we are losing our country. Now here you got refugees who are exposed to genocide. We are losing our country. You all are losing your country because of corruption, not for any other reason. And also to take out all that hatred from your heart. Our legacy is slipping away from our hands. We will regret it in the near future. And it'll be too late to fix the mess. I think it's about time we hit the streets and if possible do it the Nepal way. If we are not being heard, Muslims will rule us in the near future, and they'll wipe us out if we don't act now. This country is ours, not the ANC. Time has come for us to put our differences aside and fight the government. We will be doing this for our future generation.
So he wants to fight the government, or does he want to fight the Muslims? Or who does he want to fight with?
He seems to be very, very confused. Yeah.
And by the way, that can be analyzed as hate speech. He must be very careful. You are now inciting violence.
Yeah. In fact, somebody asked the same lady, Tracy, do you even know what Sharia law is?
Exactly.
And, and then somebody said, who agreed with this lady, Tracy, 100% correct, is the Islamification of the West. Unbelievable.
I think they give us too much credit. They think everywhere where the majority will take over the country.
There, another white person said, I'll have to agree to disagree. I think the neighboring countries don't want to touch them because of the hell they cause in Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, to mention a few. They were never integrated. They were constantly going against the government. They even tried to overthrow the government. That was war. I mean, people don't understand and realize that it's the West that have put these Muslim countries in the situation they are. If I send a message during the apartheid, there were tens of thousands of refugees in other countries. Why should Africans complain now? The colonists should be the last ones to complain about the Palestinians. Let them post their complaints. They show heartless and inhumane they are. You know, I mean, how many of ours, especially the MK Amkonto Sizwe, had went to different parts of the world as refugees and were assisted and given a good life? Quite a number of them. They forgot about all those things. How many of Muslims that were also fighting against apartheid? Okay, there might be a small minority of whites that were also fighting against apartheid. But this majority of whites who are settlers in this country themselves, who have taken over this country, ruled this country for many years, treated people so badly, and now suddenly they feel they're on the right side. I don't know. They need to look in the mirror and see.
But how do we know that it's the majority of whites? How many of them responded? I can't be. I want to assume it's more than 18 or 20 people.
Brother Mohamed, you'll be shocked. I'll be very honest with you. You'll be shocked at the amount of people that have
Why
responded.
don't you invite one of them onto the program? Maybe we can educate them.
That's something that they won't do. I'll give you an example. Okay, let's give you an example. Recently, we heard of the DA. Suddenly woke up. Why? Sauk. Sauk is doing this and Sauk is doing that, and we're going to take them to court, and we're going to do this, and we're going to take control and see what they're doing wrong and what they're doing to the money, and we're going to take legal action. Where is DA now? Why are they so quiet? Why are they not fighting for anybody's rights now? Earlier on, they were fighting for the Muslim rights because of Hajj. They know how important Hajj is to Muslims. Okay? But now suddenly, here is a human right issue where the genocide taking place, people coming in just with their backsack and moving into absolutely nothing. And you're quiet. I like to hear, come, these DA politicians, Muslims and non-Muslims, I challenge you to come on our show. And by the way, we have sent a few invitations. And all
they refused, right? They all refused.
They kept quiet. They didn't even have, I don't want to use the word, but they didn't have, I still don't want to use the word. they
use the word the gallbladder. Use the word the gallbladder. I know what word you want to use, but rather use gallbladder.
They refuse to even respond, Brother Mohamed. But if I call them and tell them, come on, let's talk about Sauk, or you'll see how fast they'll all be here. Come, shame on you. Shame on you, really. Really shame on. Take this hatred out of your heart. Come, and to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, let's use hikmah, let's use wisdom. Let's show them what a good heart we have and how we will help people. We know Prophet ﷺ has been through worse. And how you think he won people over? By his behavior, by his action, by his words, and how he responded to them and how he reacted to them. Another message came. Why is there or was there no outcry with the infiltration of exodus of foreigners into South Africa by the white people. Many are illegal with no documentation. Some have criminal elements, but that did not have the reaction as the arrival of Palestinians landing by plane that seems to be a phantom plane. What are the hypocrites? I do agree there have been a lot of refugees have come into this country, legals and illegals. There wasn't a huge outcry. Yes, the locals are upset. There have been trouble between the foreigners and also between the locals. We do understand. But not an outcry like this, not pouring so much of hatred. Why? Again, it's because it's Muslims. And let me tell you something. Muslims are not terrorists. We are not terrorists. This is a perception that was created by the West to justify what they're doing and what they can do.
Yeah, but you see, you also come to a place where we are also to be blamed. We don't have media people. We don't have journalists in our community. We don't have people that can counteract arguments. We don't have people that can put forward some substantiated reasons. We don't have people that can talk historically about, no, we do have, but they just don't partake. So it's a matter of educating the ignorant. And that's what we should be focusing on getting media people, training journalists, let them counteract all negative. We don't have that. So, like you said in Facebook, I don't know how many people must have responded with hate speech, but no one has responded to them. No one has rectified them. No one has given them the information that they need to have before they spew out hate.
That one post I read about the lady who basically commented in support of and speaking about these people that are spitting out so much of hate. If you see the amount of comments that came after her post, 30, 40 comments, all attacking her and all justifying that what she's saying is wrong and this is right and this is what they're doing and whatever. But the common message that I've noticed that comes out very strongly: one, Muslims are terrorists. Two, we want to take over the land and take over the country and make all of them Muslims.
Three, Sharia law.
Sharia law, we want to implement. Do they know what Sharia law? Sharia law is a very fair law. Who basically,
in fact, if you do implement Sharia law, I think every country will run so smoothly, it's scary. They just don't know what Sharia law is.
Okay. Now let's look at, okay, we do understand, and people are saying, okay, why our Muslim countries are not doing anything about helping them? Okay. Let's look at the facts. There's Sharia law in Saudi Arabia. There's Sharia law in UAE. There's a Sharia law in Qatar. There's Sharia law in quite a number of Muslim countries. Is there any crime? How free people live? How safe people live? There's no crime. There's no murder. There's no killing. You know, in Dubai, you can leave your phone somewhere and come back tomorrow. It's still there.
True.
So look at the protection. Look at the safety. Okay, Frank, from Anonymous. I've been reading many Facebook posts regarding the Palestinians' arrival at OR Tambo, and many have profile names which reflect people from the north. This is the ex-border. It's a known fact that many are here illegally, so it's a lame excuse to use a Palestinian arrival to defend their own illegal occupation here. Okay. Can we bring closure to this and give something to people to think about? I think that's very important.
Let's give them something to think about. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in Dubai at the moment.
Okay. So just in closing, we are reminded that behind every headline and every political statement are human beings, mothers, fathers, and children who have endured unimaginable loss. The 176 Palestinian refugees who arrived in South Africa carry the weight of genocide, displacement, and trauma. But they can also carry the hope that somewhere in the world, humanity still exists. South Africa's civil society has shown that the spirit of Ubuntu is alive, that when people arrive with nothing, we respond with everything we can offer. But this moment also demands accountability, clarity on how this relocation happened, why it happened, and what it means for our sovereignty and our obligations under international law. We do not have to choose between condemning injustice and offering compassion, but we can and must do both. But as long as genocide in Gaza continues, the global community has a duty to protect, to speak, and to act. So our listeners, May tonight serve as a reminder. Justice begins with awareness, solidarity begins with compassion, and peace begins with the truth. I think we still have more messages here. Let's see. Faiz, 100% brother MV. Muslims have nothing about media, only interested in high-rise building. This is from Faiz. They don't know anything about media, but they're only interested in high-rise building. By the way, I'm a Muslim. Call me a terrorist. Oh, now he's sending so many pictures. Oh, he's sending all his pit bulls. You want to put your pit bulls on them? Call me a fundamentalist. Never call me a Zionist. Thank you. Okay. Take a leaf.
I think he lives in a predominantly white area.
So that's
I
why
think he's surrounded by a lot of his neighbors. Most of them are predominantly white, I think.
And I believe he has engaged with them also in a respectable way. Take a leaf from the book of the Gift of the Givers. They won the hearts of all South Africans. I agree with you, Mac, but at the same time, I must be very honest. If you read all the comments that whenever Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman had an interview, where even on Al Jazeera and all the news stations, the amount of hate and negative comments that were put on that. They actually said that he's got a hidden agenda. They actually accused him of orchestrating this whole process. Can you believe it?
Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman will always come under the eyes of the public. There'll be those that are that love him and appreciate the work that he do. There'll be those that envy him because of achievements he has and how he can put together things so quickly. But I think it's beyond him now. It's water off a duck back. He just gets on with the work, get on what he's doing, and he just moves on to the next thing. I don't think he's fazed by any one of the hate mail or the insults that he gets, because it's all nonsense anyway. There's a beautiful article called The Psychology of Envy. I'm not too sure. I think it's by Carl Jung. It's called The Psychology of Envy. If you have the time, you must read that article. It's very good.
And look at the irony. Brother sent a message here, I don't know, brother or sister. Says Palestinians took the Israelis with open arms when nobody wanted them.
That's true. That's true.
Because no countries wanted. So why South Africa should turn on the Palestinians? Okay, Faiz asked me to share all the pitbull stories with you. Yo, they look mean. Okay, I think we need to have these pitbulls standing at the doors of those that are sending all these hated comments. Let's listen to this.
من رحم الظلام نهضى بلا أبور أجسادنا من نور وقلوبنا من نار الضعف تحملنا دربا والريح تحمل اسم الإله على عالمنا نبدأ الذهب إذا نقعت في الصيدان نحن الذين نطلق باسم عند العبور انهضوا فالسيف يسبق الصلاة والكلد تحيي من مات راية حورس فوق رؤوسنا تذيب جيوش ظلام صهارا الذباب الشرير يفر من صوتنا والأفعى تلتف خوفا تحت أقدامنا قلوبنا لم توزن بعد في الميزان لكنها تعرف طريق النصر بلا كلام نحن الذين ننطق باسم عند العبور انهضوا فالسيف يسبق الصلاة والكلمة تحيي من مات راية حورس فوق رؤوسنا أنا جندي لله أنا لست خائفا أنا باب الفجر إن نهضوا السيف يسبق الصلاة والجلد تحيي من مات راية حورس فوق رؤوسنا تذيب جيوش ظلام الصهارى نعبر ننتصر نملك الأبد.
Yes, welcome back. You're listening to Nightline, the show that keeps the conversation going long after the city goes quiet. So, coming to the last part of the program, I think we have a message here. Okay, this is from Aisha. Salams, Doc and MV. This drama about the sudden unexpected landing of Palestinians by Lift Airlines smacks of conspiracy. How come the Guptas were given carte blanche and that plane was allowed to land at the Air Force Base for a wedding? No action taken. It was hushed and was condoned. Here we have a humanitarian crisis and they were restricted and confined to suffocating circumstances. Our president should be applauded for his stance to allow the refugee status, and viva to Dr. Imtiaz Rahman and his team. May Allah Ta'ala protect him and all the volunteers. What about the infiltration of the Jews from Israel into Cape? There's an indirect usurping and colonization yet again. How did they get through red tape and get dual citizenship? That should also be thoroughly investigated. Sarah baby, sorry I didn't forget about your message. She says Assalamu alaikum to by Mohamed Hossen Variawa. Yo, she actually put the whole name there. I don't know, is he still there? Not there. Okay. And she goes on to say, yeah, and also to Aniwar Jeewa, welcome to a fantastic Nightline show. Shame you're still doing the show alone in the station. Yes, I got used to it, Sarah baby. But a year by an MV, very pleasant show. My salams and duas to you. Thank you for your kind words. And your family and there in Dubai and entire Al Ansar family. Always remembering my duas, alhamdulillah. Beautiful nasheeds and naat. Nice listening to Aisha Jamal, mashallah, for her to take care of the needs. May Allah Ta'ala reward abundantly. Jazakallah to read my message. May Allah Ta'ala reward you. This is from Sarah Bibi Mustafa Parak. Sarah Bibi, as mentioned here, shame. She says, shame, you're still doing your show alone in the station. Talking about me, yeah?
Oh, she's feeling sorry for you.
Yeah. They all feel sorry for me. You're privileged. You are privileged, entitled. No, alhamdulillah, I know you must know. So we're all talking about the very adapt or the behavior to the staff at Checkers. If I should be there, I should be so embarrassed that if I make any mistake, I don't complain. I just keep quiet, being a Muslim with niqab. Inshallah, may MV be back in South Africa, safe to his family. And
Ameen.
His whole family is there in Dubai. That's why he's there. Subhanallah. What beautiful Nasiya Maulana Vanka. Summa Ameen. Inshallah, we'll reach Masjid al-Aqsa, inshallah. Okay, so let's end off. You think you're looking very, very tired. Very quickly. Sami Hamdi. Let's listen to this.
Thank God it was protected by the federal courts.
Hi, Kara Fox from CNN International. Can you just tell us a little bit about, after this experience, what's your message to Western governments about how they treat criticism of Israel and speaking on Gaza?
I think what is abundantly clear is that governments are recognizing the shift in public opinion that's taking place. You're from CNN from the US, you will note there are candidates running for the midterm elections who are openly saying they will no longer take AIPAC money. Being aware that it is no longer something that is a political asset because of the shift in public opinion, because ordinary Americans, good Americans with good hearts, who saw those images of those children being slaughtered, were so moved by it that they have decided to take a principled position against genocide. This is what I meant when I said it's not about me. What they are upset about is not what Sami Hamdi says. They're upset that Americans are waking up, that Americans are moving, that Americans are mobilizing. And there is now a hysterical push in multiple Western capitals by an extremist lobby to silence voices of truth because people are listening. So my message to Western governors is embrace this shift in public opinion, embrace that truth and channel that into a victory like we saw with Mamdani in New York, who decided, as opposed to the other candidates, not to talk about Israel or what's going on, but to talk about New York itself. America first, not Israel first. Britain first, not Israel first. That's my message to the Western governments.
Coming back to the UK, do you have any concerns about free speech here in the UK as has happened in the US?
I think that one of the things that I admire about the UK and indeed in the US is that for all of the accusations that were thrown, the rule of law still stands. Twice they went to the federal courts in the US to try to push an accusation, and twice the federal court said it is unsubstantiated. Even in the UK here, despite the efforts of an extremist lobby to silence and restrict the freedom of speech of ordinary British citizens, of ordinary Americans, the courts continue to stand in their way because of the rule of law. I have faith in the rule of law. I had faith in the federal judges. I had faith in the court system, and my faith was rewarded. I am exonerated, and I'm here in London, and I'm hoping to play seven-a-side football on Sunday.
Sami and Hamdi is free.
He's still playing seven-a-side football at all.
Indoor soccer. Maybe we need to invite him for a game. He might be scared. Okay. There's another quick interview with Sami Hamdi. Let's listen to this.
Looking up at the gate D38 to fly from San Francisco to Tampa to give another lecture. And then suddenly somebody walks up and says, "Excuse me, your visa's been revoked." And then I look at the memo from the State Department. There's no reason why. Nothing's been stated. It hasn't said any of the things that they would later go on to say online on social media. And then as they escorted me outside of the airport, there was this black car, the kind of things you see in the movies. And they told me, get in the black car. And it had tinted windows and everything. And I said to them, I'm not getting in a black car just like that. I'm a British citizen. I need to call someone. They said, you can't call anybody. And then I told them, well, I'm not getting in the car. They said, you have 1 minute. So I called the CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, which is a civil liberties organization. Then when I asked them, can I call my family to let them know I'm okay? A lady from behind grabs me, pushes me on the car and says, all right, that's enough, you're under arrest. And she puts the cuffs tightly behind my back, puts me into the car. And then for the next 6 hours, I'm loaded in the back of a van later in this very, tight, claustrophobic place. They don't tell you where you're going. They didn't let me call a lawyer. Even when I got there, I told them, can I have my phone call now with my lawyer? They said, you'll get it, you'll get it. I had to call the lawyer at my own expense later. And I just found it was quite an aggressive experience, because I even said to ICE, I said, listen, I'm coming as a guest, I can just fly home to London. And they went, this is not how this works. In the end, the attorney on behalf of the government came and said, listen, let's just clear this up very easily. If you decide to depart, we won't make it difficult for you. What they were saying online was never said privately between the lawyers. And thankfully, I ended up home.
Sumaya, we've spoken to you whilst Sami was detained. Just tell me whether you received the support that you felt you needed, and whether the British government supported you through this ordeal, or asked you if they could provide any kind of assistance, given Sami is a British national citizen who was detained in the United States.
I have to say, while the staff at the FCDO have been friendly and have tried to help, the assistance that we received from the British government really, I would say, was really very disappointing, if I'm being completely honest. Right up to the end, to this morning, when we received an email with incorrect information from the FCDO, in which I was told that Sami would be flying back next week, when in fact he was already on the plane on his way to London. So I don't see that the British government has taken it seriously when one of their own citizens, a registered journalist, has been taken under false pretenses, has not been charged with any crime, and has had his liberty deprived of him. And I think this is really very concerning, that the British government is not taking more serious action with regards to our closest ally, the United States, to ensure that British citizens are protected. And I would say to British citizens who value their freedom of speech to be very careful, because, you've got the World Cup in the United States coming up next year. If this could happen to Sami, there on a valid visa, a British citizen, a registered journalist, then it could very well happen again. And that's the last thing that we want to see to happen to anyone. We wouldn't wish this on anybody.
That's true, Brother Mohammed. Next year, a World Cup in United States, Canada.
Inshallah, with your blessings, I will most probably want to come watch a few games there.
No.
I'll go to Mexico rather.
Mexico, Canada,
Yeah.
True. Okay. All right. So coming back to the end of the show, somebody sent a message. He said the Israelis are like the pit bull. They want to get the Palestinians out of the country. You heard that, Faiz? Send us a voice note before we end.
We see the world burning, but our hearts stay cold. This is for the Ummah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Spoonsum Kaiser, the technician. You are now listening to the biggest reality show, #Netline, exclusively on Radio Al Ansar.
And the ground shakes up. Don't wait till your peace gets taken up. Stand for the truth now, that's our makeup. Ummah, 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 Ummah. We must wake up. We rose from struggle, from chains and scars, but forgot the Lord who wrote the stars. Within freedom, but living sin, blinded by gold, forgetting pain. How many lives will we keep consuming? How many kids lost while we keep pursuing? It's not our fight, but it's too far. But stroll through blood like it's just beyond. Ummah, we must wake up. Before the fire comes and the ground shakes up. Don't wait till your peace gets taken up. Stand for the truth now, that's our makeup. Ummah, Ummah, we must wake up. Gaza cries and Sudan bleeds. Congo suffers while the West feeds. We buy from brands funding genocide and pray for peace when the soul is dry. La ilaha illallah, we say it bold. Where's the action? Where's the hope? Where's the fight for the weak and the stand for the just? Are we Muslim in heart or just names and die? We must wake up before the fire comes and the ground shakes up. Don't wait till your peace gets taken up. Stand for the truth now, that's our makeup.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
This dunya breaks me, Allah heals me, I fall again. He still sees me, He knows my heart, He knows my pain. So I say, Ya Rahman, again and again. This dunya breaks me, Allah hears me, I cry alone, but He comes near me. The world is loud, but His peace is clear. So I whisper, Ya Allah, stay near. Someday I smile, most days I fake it. So much pressure, I can barely take it. They say have faith, but they don't know I'm fighting battles I never show. Bills to pay, tears at night, praying Fajr just to feel right. Scrolling through life, feeling behind, searching for peace I still can't find. This dunya breaks me, Allah heals me, I fall again. He still sees me, He knows my heart, He knows my pain. So I say, Ya Rahman, again and again. This dunya breaks me, Allah hears me, Allah hears me. I cry alone, but he comes near me. The world is loud, but his peace is clear. So I whisper, Ya Allah, stay near. I lost my way, but never his light. Even in sin, he held me tight. Regret so heavy.
Beautiful nasheed speaking about this dunya breaks me, but never give up hope. Once again, just to end off, I think what's important for us to understand from tonight's show is that please, we need to become a bit more proactive. Islamophobia seems to be growing in this country. Why? Is because we're keeping quiet, or maybe it's also the way we approach things and the way we behave. Yes, Muslims are very charitable. They assist wherever they can. But I think we need to do more because action speaks louder than words. Thank you, Zubi. Received your message. She says, Jazakallah for another captivating program. And before we end, we just got a quick voice note from Faiz. Let's listen to this.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't know. I think my finger came off the voice message. No, the person got the wrong idea about the pit bulls. The pit bulls are the ones that actually will safeguard the Palestinians from these Yahudis. Pit bulls can just smell filth, They can just smell a traitor, dirty dog. Yeah, what I need is just not even 3 minutes, 30 seconds with Ben Gavir, Smotrich and Netanyahu in one room with one pit bull. And then we like to see what they do. I'm just waiting, for one of these monkeys. That's a word I used before. This is not the people who say I was using bad language, Dr. Jeewa. No, I'm just waiting for one of them to get caught. Turkey has 47 warrants for all these Israeli criminals. Canada wants them. Well, we know about Randari in New York. Many countries wants them. I'm just waiting for one of them to get caught. And then sell the proper dance. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi barakatuh. Anyway, once again, that brings us to the end of tonight's session of Nightline here on Radio Al-Ansar. It's been a privilege sharing this time with you, listening, learning, and reflecting together. Remember, the conversations don't stop here. They continue in our homes, our communities, and within ourselves. Until next week, Saturday night, same time, 8:30 till late on 90.4 FM in Durban, 105.6 in Peter Marisburg. Take care of your hearts, your families, and your faith. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.